This is Cosmographia, the Randall Carlson podcast. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Cosmographia, the Randall Carlson podcast. And we are joined, as usual, by the usual cast of suspects. Bradley, how you doing, sir?
I'm feeling unusual.
Feeling unusual. Not a usual.
Yo, Jordalis, what's going on, man? You were online instantly, man. How you doing, buddy?
Right. Silent Mike.
How are things, my man?
Thanks,
How are
Al.
you?
All right.
First of all,
Randall.
Yeah, so Mike, feeling normal.
I think
Brad is
so.
feeling unusual.
How are you, my
I'm
man?
sort of feeling abnormal.
did you, dude? We were through 3 minutes 35 seconds away from a near miss of two asteroids that were recently discovered today or yesterday or whatever.
I mean, it's a normal day over here in weird Snake Rose territory, so.
Yeah, a normal day. So you guys didn't have a normal day here last episode, did you? Or was it the episode before, where everybody was struggling
we were about
to
to
remain
fall asleep.
conscious?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah, we were in the depths of harvest and got up at 4 a.m. We worked all day and then came home and did Cosmographia. And so yeah, it was great subject matter, but
Which we'd all been waiting
hard to
for.
focus. Yep.
Lake Hind and
Well,
the
it's-
connection between cosmic and flooding. Yeah, we were
That's
waiting
right.
on it, and
I was like, I've been waiting for this.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I did not make it.
Kind off,
made it
chilling at
down.
home now. How about you?
Even
Yo,
though
I'm good, man. I'm
always
good,
you-
dude.
You failed abysmally.
Yeah.
That's why it's recorded.
That's
we can
right.
Go back
we can go
and
back. Review.
Yeah.
I hope you're okay, man.
Yeah.
Well, you guys got up at 4 a.m., right?
Yeah.
That would to do your harvesting grapes.
That's why we're up at 4.
Yeah. And so this is it was that and not that you were bored with the subject matter.
Absolutely.
That's right. Yeah.
Of course. No, we'll let you know if we get bored.
Okay.
We'll tell you.
We
Straight
don't
up.
want to be bored.
Randall, this is boring. Move on. Moon.
Well, I wasn't up at 4, but I had a long day also. But yeah, we were going. It was almost 1 a.m. at that point. So
Yeah.
you guys to hang in with that. Kudos.
No, and none of it's boring.
None of it was
Sure.
boring.
Well, unless we're talking about taking borings for core samples,
That's true.
Yeah.
that's I guess the exception. Because those can get pretty interesting sometimes. Because in fact, last week we were talking about borings
No.
from the sedimentary bottom of Lake Hind, and what they revealed at minus roughly 33 centimeters, which was nano.
Also got AirPods? Yeah, buddy.
Microspherules, the stuff, the signature
Heck
of
yeah,
something,
dude.
right? But we'll come back to some of those questions because we certainly aren't through talking about nanodiamonds. That's going to be an ongoing, because studies are
Dude,
ongoing.
53
and
seconds
when
till
those
this
studies
asteroid
come out,
passes by
they're
Earth. We gotta
on,
bring this to
deeper
the top.
understanding of this whole
We gotta bring
phenomenon.
this to the
Of
top.
course, we have to look at it. But we haven't looked at the studies yet from the Alps. We haven't looked at the studies from Patagonia. We haven't looked at the studies from Antarctica, and these are really interesting things. So we're going to come back to catch people up along with ourselves on these some of these more recent studies from the last 2, 3, 4 years that have really extended the range of
What are the comments
the
saying?
deposition of extraterrestrial exotics.
Two large recently detected asteroids were
But
set
right
for a
now,
close
we were
approach to
saying
Earth
we've
within
been talking
15
about,
minutes apart.
the possible
RF5. Oh my
consequences
God.
of an
It's
impact.
going to come. Here we go.
Because
The
we're
countdown.
segueing over
Oh
into
no.
the subject matter of
6,
megafloods.
5.
The thing about
Oh,
the megafloods
Jesus.
is that,
Oh no.
as I've been sifting through the literature on megafloods for about 35 or 40 years now, one of the things that really strikes me is that there's no coherent theory, in the sense that when we're looking at these catastrophic outbursts, whether it's
What happened? Are we still here? Are we
Hudson
still
River
alive?
Valley or the Connecticut
That's
River
it?
Valley up
That's
in
it?
New
That's what
England,
happened?
whether
It
it's
missed?
connected, with the Finger Lakes.
Wow,
in
that
the
was
north,
so
whether it's
anticlimactic.
Grand Valley of
Let me tell you, dude.
Michigan, whether
I was
it's
hoping
the
for like
St. Croix River,
major catastrophe. No, I'm
between
just kidding. I'm
Minnesota
not.
and
I never
Wisconsin,
I never
whether
wish
it's
for
the
that. I'm not
outlet
even
of
kidding.
glacial,
Not even joking.
Lake Aggies,
Please don't hit us. It didn't, man.
there's the Great
We got baited.
Spillways
We got
of the
jebaited,
Midwestern
dude.
Prairie region,
We got hardcore
the
jebaited.
Scablands, etc., etc., etc.
Let me see what the comments. Let's go to the
There's
comments.
no
People are gonna be
coherent
pissed,
theory
man.
that puts all
Let's
of
see.
this together
People are pissed
and
off.
ties it into the
How did you-
general
yo,
process
yo,
of
check this out.
deglaciation. Because
Check
if
out
we
the
go back to,
comments.
15,000
They are
years ago,
upset.
16,000 years ago, we're back right there at the threshold of the LGM. Right?
It
What is
passed.
the LGM?
Last glacial maximum.
Look, he's sad. It
Late,
passed.
late glacial maximum.
Passed.
Right, close enough. Kyle.
When Ronald Reagan gave his
I'm getting
famous
there, I'm
speech
getting
addressing the
there.
United Nations, people thought he was
You,
being
the
a
guy there to
con.
the left of Russ. That guy.
You're
That
retarded?
guy.
Wow,
The
YouTube
late
comments.
glacial
Am I
maximum.
surprised?
Right.
Should I even live stream
So now-
YouTube comments ever?
Late glacial maximum starts to
I don't want to die
ameliorate.
yet. Yo, how are
Ice
you
starts
doing,
to
my man? How's your
retract.
leg,
As
dude?
it
How you
does its
feeling, my man? I was
melting,
thinking
as
about
it
you
melts,
last
it
night. I hope you're
creates
okay.
lakes.
I
It creates,
gotcha.
it augments the
The
flow of
Doom
the
Slayer.
rivers draining the ice sheet. Because if the
When
ice
asked
is
Ricky moved to the
expanding,
universe.
right, it can't be draining. In other words, the amount of meltwater draining away from the ice sheet has to be less than the volume of ice that's expanding.
We made it.
As the
We
ice
made
is
it.
growing.
See
Because,
another
if
day.
we go back 25 to 30,000 years ago, we're looking at a couple of small nuclei, the Keewatin and the Laurentide nuclei on each side of the Hudson Bay, that began to started growing, like the blob taking over. There was two of them, and they essentially
How you doing, my
grew
man?
in-
Otherwise?
around the ice accumulated around these nuclei that eventually converged to form one much bigger blob of ice, and then that continued to grow. And then over far to the west, 1,000 miles to the west, 1,500 miles to the west, you've got the Cordilleran ice sheet, which is growing in its environment, and it basically started as montane glaciers, or glaciers up in mountain valleys. And if people know what a cirque is this sort of bowl-shaped carved feature that you see in a lot of glaciated mountains, and we can look at some pictures of them, and will be, as we go along here. But so you have this accumulation up in the mountain regions. It flows down into the valleys, and then those mountain glaciers coalesce in the valleys, and then the ice piles up, and those valleys will grow down, and eventually enough ice comes that it completely buried the whole Cordilleran region, other than just the very top peaks of the mountain ranges, the Rocky Mountains. So you had 3,000, 4,000 feet of ice, maybe more, in those mountain valleys. And that blob of glacial ice grew, and as it grew, it moved out. Now bear in mind, as this ice blobs are growing, sea level is shrinking. As sea level is going down, coastlines are retracting, right? Now here comes the glacial ice moving right into that coastal marginal area where the coastline is retracting. Same thing happened even on a greater extent on the east coast of the United States, because the east coast continental shelf is much shallower. So as the ice mass grew, sea levels drop. As sea levels drop, the coastline retracts seaward, and the glacial ice will just follow in its wake. So it's almost like the glacial ice is growing proportionately.
My leg is okay at the moment. I
Traction
tried
of
to
the
walk for fun and fell. Oh,
Now
jeez,
you
dude.
reverse the process.
I'm
Now,
sorry,
of
my
course,
man.
when the ice sheet is growing,
Jesus, man. I hope you're
there
okay, dude.
has to be reduced melting, because if there wasn't reduced melting, the ice wouldn't be growing. It would be, if you've got the same amount of ice accumulating as the meltwater discharging off the ice sheet, then the ice sheet's going to be more or less stable, right? It's not going to grow, it's not going to shrink. If you have more accumulation than you do melting, the ice sheet grows. If you have more melting than you do accumulation, the ice sheet shrinks. Makes sense, right, when you think about it, right? So the ice sheet started shrinking about 15,000 years ago, or maybe closer to 14,006, because remember, 14,006 is the current date for the first big meltwater pulse introduced back into the oceans. So there's something that happened around 14.6 that it definitely is worth looking into further.
But it could be a decrease in accumulation as well as an increase in melting, right? I mean, those two things.
Yes, but the critical thing is the ratio between the two.
Yes, right.
That's the critical thing is the ratio.
Because like they could still be melting a lot, but if accumulation increases a whole bunch and overcomes the melting,
That's exactly
then
right.
they would
That's
start
exactly
growing.
right. See, so now what you're talking about, though, is the implication of that is an accelerated hydrological cycle.
Yes.
And when
right,
we look
going
at
back
how
to the beginning
rapidly the ice did accumulate,
I wanted to see if I can
yeah,
try
it
to
really
get the
does seem
Goldeneye
like
sound
for,
into
a period of 4, 5, or 6
into my
thousand years,
friggin'
the
TV.
hydrological cycle was on steroids.
Right.
And then just about the time it reached its maximum, it started contracting again. But then that contraction
what am I gonna
process
do?
got interrupted, apparently, on at least 3 different episodes, 14.6, 12.9, and 11.6, give or take 50 years or so on
Let me see if I can try to get the music into here.
each of those dates. So
Yeah, it was my fault.
what
I really
happened? I don't
hate
know.
when I
That's
can't
what
do
we'll
anything, dude.
find out. And a lot of people are very interested in that because, as we've said over and over again, that perhaps was that period of time of 3,000 years was probably the most significant period of time of the last 3 or 4 or 5 million years in terms of concentrated
Okay,
global
let me see if I can get the sound in
environmental
here.
climatic change. And within that 3,000 years, it appears that perhaps the Younger Dryas boundary of 12,008 to 12,900 was the most significant event node within that 3,000 years from 11.6 to 14.6. And this is where the nanodiamonds have been found, where the microsphere has been found. Now, I'm very curious about what happened at 14.6, 14,600 years ago. Could that have been an impact? Well, I know of no discovery of microspherules or nanodiamonds there that would be consistent with an impact. But, here's the but. If you got, for example, on the ice sheet surface, when it's been
Oh, we got it. We got the sound.
and if you
Wow,
got
we
the
did it.
surface melt, well, you're not going to have any preservation.
Right?
Right? You're not, let's say the whole ice sheet gets dusted with
Do we have sound?
with microspherules, cosmic dust.
Do we have sound?
whatever,
Can someone
right?
confirm if we have N64
If
sound
it's
or
enough,
not?
it's going to change
Please?
the
That's
opacity
okay.
or the albedo of
Tell me if I
ice.
need to turn it up or down or low or
That's a
whatever.
possibility. We do know that right around the Younger Dryas boundary, there was several, or perhaps multiple, very large volcanic eruptions. Right? There's evidence of that. If there's evidence of that in Hall's Cave, the Osmium isotope. Right? We looked at that and said, well, yes, we recognize that there have been volcanic eruptions clustering around the Younger Dryas boundary. We've known that to that. The fact that you find the signature of a volcanic eruption in the deposits in Hall's Cave doesn't necessarily mean that an extraterrestrial event wasn't part of the mix, right? But the thing is, you've got that layer, let's say on the ice, and you've got the period of accelerated melting. Well, any of that material that's going to have been deposited on the ice, that's going to be lost. But why wasn't the layer lost at the Younger Dryas boundary? Unless, of course, there was rapid freeze that layer was more or less preserved. Or maybe only a few centimeters of it melted.
Oh, I forgot about this one.
Perhaps the concentration of extraterrestrial
Bear
matter
back.
would have been a lot.
I can confirm?
Yes.
Yeah, buddy. Nice. Let's go.
But then we have the 11.6.
Food time? No worries, buddy. Take your time,
And
dude.
So, what happened there? I don't know, but I think that
Hell yeah, we got the sound now?
kind of looking at
Sweet.
this whole 3,000 year period and seeing that it almost took this whole concentration of these events in order to successfully reboot the planet from what it was in the Pleistocene to what it is in the Holocene. So, well, yeah, and I'm not sure that they're not. I'm just thinking if there have been studies necessarily that have identified a meltwater pulse, because certainly, as we're going to see in the next few episodes, there was a whole lot of meltwater introduced into the ocean right after the data to the draining of Lake Agnes, which right now is bound. That would have been a significant influx of meltwater into the world ocean. So, to pull up. So we talked about, let's see, I'm looking at Brad's map there. Yeah, if we look up on Brad's Lake Winnipeg up there, right up there, that was part of the basin of Lake Agnes right there. In fact, that's left over from Lake Agnes. Let's see here. Yeah,
I mean, couldn't they take ocean cores, like from the bottom of the ocean, and kind of do the same thing they do with lakes and ice, and kind of look at, like, if there was an influx of so much fresh water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that it's the bottom of the ocean, so the saltiest water is, it's more dense, but might have had some effect. Could they tell from the layers in the bottom of the ocean if there was a big pulse of fresh water into the ocean at that time?
Well, yes, because if there is a pulse of fresh water, especially if it's gone over a land surface, it's going to pick up a lot of biological material.
Yeah.
And you're going to find, and also the Heinrich layers, the icebergs are discharging. When you have a highly active ice sheet, it's discharging large numbers of icebergs into the ocean, and those icebergs are loading with coarse material, gravel and sand and so forth, and then those, because in your deeper ocean, the normal deposition is just going to be this little diatomaceous stuff, very fine grained, right? And then suddenly you've got sandwiched in there, and then that's over normal, very fine grained deposition, and then there'll be successive layers of these successive coarser layers. And by analyzing where they originate, where did the rock, this was pulverized rock in there, so where did this come from? Well, it came from the Canadian Shield. So clearly, it had been transported by ice, and that makes sense. The ice is growing, it's grinding over the land and picking up material, and it reaches the coastline, and it, the edges of the ice sheet calve into the ocean as icebergs. Those icebergs then begin to drift south, and as they drift south, they melt. And as they melt, that material that they're carrying, that coarse material, it forms. And those things can be dated, because for one thing, you've got biological, but you've got marine, you've got and planktonic species that are sandwiched that can be dated with little foreign. You've got the normal ocean bottom vegetation, and then you've got the first layer of Heinrich, then you've got another ocean bottom. In the Heinrich layers, they tend to be very deficient on datable material, but they're sandwiched between layers that do have datable material. So you can kind of create this chronology. And I'm not up on the latest, something to be worth investigating, because that is a very powerful cost for global environmental right there. So in this long rant, I was about to make something which I So we were talking about...
I really should have had the AR-33. I should have killed it from that guard. Whatever. I gotta kill it from that guard. I know which guard I'm gonna kill first.
Undoubtedly formed between 12.9 and 14.6. That's another point. Because at 14.6, we've got some accelerated melting that goes on, so the ice sheet is contracting back. As it contracts back, it creates a pro-glacial coast of meltwater. As the ice continues to shrink, the meltwater continues to accumulate, right? Now, because the ice sheet has been so thick, the core of the ice sheet has depressed the land surface maybe 1,000 to 2,000 feet, right? So now you almost have it sitting in this bowl. There we go. A bowl. But as the water's accumulating in that depressed area. And so what you have is this shifting ratio of glacial ice to proglacial meltwater. Well, as the meltwater flows away, as the ice melts and the meltwater flows away, you now start to get isostatic rebound. So you have to now start factoring in these isostatic effects because through the isostatic rebound is not coming up. It's doing this, it's causing spillovers. You've got a drainage divide that's keeping the water accumulated around the glacier margin. Well, when the depression or the bowl rebounds enough so that water rises up the now the Mississippi River as the ice retreated north, the Mississippi River. East and started flowing into the St. Lawrence. When it did that, it flowed then into the Atlantic. All of this cold, fresh meltwater went in there and interrupted the meridional circulation. And so now, because it interrupted that, because the amount of water was so voluminous that it just actually caused the circulation to stop. So the circulation Lake Agassiz overflowed into the North Atlantic, caused an interruption of the meridional overturning circulation, and that interrupted Europe, including younger Dryasop dipetala, which was the polar wildflower, which came back in the after 12 months. So that was the idea. But then I go, okay, makes sense as far as it goes. The problem is you've got this inland ocean of fresh water that's meltwater. That's not there's more to the story. You know, there's more behind that. You can't stop there. How do you get this gigantic mass of meltwater from this Lake Agassiz? You know, that's a question that I think needs to be asked. So there, now we come back to this. About 14.6 is a short period of accelerated melting. And then into a long period with continued melting causing the ice to shrink back. And this exposed a lot of the land area around the southern margin of the ice sheet that had previously been glaciated during the LGM. And it receded just as far as where Lake southern margin of the And at that point, now you had this influx of material setting to the bottom of the lake, and more sediment covered it over, and it got preserved. Now it's core samples have been taken. But what we're getting to with this thing is the whole melting sequence. And so we had this. I'm working on a colorized version of this, which I'll have hopefully by next episode. But I'm gonna pull this up anyway. Let me get it up there. So I'm not actually finished with it yet, but it will be still worth looking at. So we'll do a share screen here. Okay, so I've colorized Lake Hin to make it really easy to see. And this work I'm still working on Lake. This would be part of. This would have been the western shore over here of Lake Gyges. I'm gonna. This blue color needs to extend right down in here, and then of course Lake Gyges extended to the east, all the way up to the edge of the ice sheet. And then you had this series of these lakes that would form in this area, this kind of low area, this sort of this swale here, between the Missouri escarpment you see on the west and Lake Agassiz on the east, and then the ice sheet margin even further east. But what you had here was this whole series of these huge interconnected lakes, and these lakes apparently drained in succession. The exact chronology is still being worked out, but in the process, these huge spillways were formed. We have the Pembina spillway here, then we had the Souris spillway coming down here out of Lake Regina. We have the Galax spillway, the Moose Mountain spillway, the Pipestone spillway, the Quapel, if I'm saying it right, which I'm probably not, spillway, the Cut Arm spillway, the Assiniboine spillway. Now these are all very large valleys relative to the rivers that are flowing in them. And so what we're looking at here is actually trying to decipher and put together the whole sequence of events that created this complex of these huge spillways. Now, to get a sense of the spillways, I'm going to have to stop the screen share and start. We started looking at some of these features last episode, and looking around. All right, so here is Oak Lake, which is the remnant of Lake Hind. This is the Lake Hind Basin. And right up here,
News is back. Yo, nice, man. Welcome back home.
Spillway. Right here. And if
I'm probably gonna use the washroom in a second. I'm gonna use the washroom in a minute.
So here's a closer look. And this, as we introduced in the last episode or two, this idea of the underfit river. It could also be an underfit river. The idea is the same as that the water flowing within the river is minuscule compared to the channel. And the old uniformitarian or gradualist argument, well, that over millions of years, or hundreds of thousands of years, or whatever, the river eventually cut the years ago, and all of this was completely obliterated. The former landscape was completely obliterated under a mile to 2 miles of ice. So this channel formed in tandem with the melting away of the ice sheet. So it wasn't something that took, tens or hundreds of thousands, or even more years.
And you're done.
It took place over a very short period of time, a few years or a few months, maybe less. But you can really get a sense of it.
Like, which guard should I take the AR from?
This
Right?
is right here in this point.
This guy?
A mile and a half. Right? So you can see these sides.
Wow.
They can only be no older than the main spill.
Well, that's how it's kind of supposed to go.
You're not going to have these.
I think I missed a mine throw. I think I should just go, shoot the AR, shoot the other console, and then throw the mine, and then run away and just eat like 4 or 5 seconds doing that instead of trying to throw it over that thing. Right? It's futile. So my fam wanted to buy McDonald's, but they didn't know what I wanted. No worries, dude. Alright, I'm gonna use the washroom. I'll be back. I'll be back in a
I would say
second.
they probably started forming immediately. I would guess that they formed very shortly after, because you're still going to have so much residual meltwater that's going to be draining off the uplands. So I would say that right now they're being subjected to more gradualistic erosion, if at all. I would have to go there and determine. I mean, if they're once they're taken over by forests, the erosion pretty much stops, unless you had a really catastrophic flood that was powerful enough to wash away the forests, which are extremely rare. But that's the scale of the floods, of course, that we're looking at here. And there are examples. You can see modern examples where they've been concentrating. The James River flood of 1969, when the hurricane Carla? Camille, thank you. Camille stalled over Virginia, and you had such a drenching of the headwaters of the James River that you had creek valleys where the whole forests were basically just washed away, trees, roots, and all. But that was a really exceptional event.
Right, so those could be formed by torrential rains during this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, water draining off the uplands could be both directly meltwater and it could also be rainwater. Yes.
Right.
The idea is you've got accumulated water on the uplands, and once you have the channel cut, see, typically what you're going to see is the process here oftentimes is you'll have a sheet flow. It's kind of spread out, and it's going to be shallow, it's going to be wide, it's going to be moving pretty fast. But if there's a zone of weakness that water can exploit, the water wants to, it's trying to like converge, it's trying to pull itself together as much as possible. So if there's a zone of weakness, it's going to exploit that. It's going to begin to accelerate the erosion of a select region within this sheet flow. But once it does that, in this, let's say, the inner channel begins to grow, then the proportion of water that's composing the sheet flow increasingly becomes
This will be my second home for now. What the stream or where you are with your fam?
To capture the entire body of water
I hope everything's cool with your fam, homie.
Does that make sense for us?
Alright.
Good. Because if it makes sense to you, it's going to make sense to just about anybody, right?
I'm gonna load something. One sec.
So how deep is that, man? When you said it was a mile and a half across right there.
I think it's about 400 feet deep. Maybe in some cases, but maybe 200 feet. Part of the thing, though, is you got to remember is that the valley floor is not maybe the full depth because there's maybe many hundreds of feet of sediment accumulated on the bottom. And that's indicated by, look at the meandering nature of the river. Those meanders are because they're just cutting through this easily erodible sediment that accumulated on the bottom of the spillway. So that sediment could be very thick in the spillway.
Yeah, a lot of that river is probably also flowing in that sediment. Yeah. That's the way it does here. There's a lot of places in the river where it just disappears. You don't see the river because it's down in the gravel and the sediment.
And then I think we hit upon this, but it's an important point that this minus 3370 in subunit D1, the mineralogical and elemental evidence.
The stream, yo, sick man. 007.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I gave this talk at a TEDx conference in London called, which was specifically supposed to be examining new paradigms. So I didn't expect any problems whatsoever.
Yo, thanks, Jordalis. I'm officially one of the go-to streamers now. Yo, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks, homie. You're the realist, dude.
Were deleted from the TEDx YouTube channel, and it
Yo, one of the go-to users now. For sure, man. Heck yeah. What's going on, my dudes? Yo, what's going on, Dick? How you doing, homie? Andrew Naylor, thanks, man.
After 6 million years,
I'm just chilling out, you know. I'm going slow today. I'm pouring coffee, drinking coffee. I want to see if I can get a Caverns 00 completion on English. I want to see if I can do that.
something extraordinary happened to us less than 100,000 years ago, which, by the way, is long after we'd become anatomically modern. It was a kind of emergence into consciousness less than 100,000 years ago, really less than 40,000 years ago, when we became fully symbolic creatures. And this great change has been defined as the single most important step forward in the evolution of human behavior. It is intimately associated with the emergence of the great and transcendent rock and cave all around the world.
Thanks for your patience, dudes.
And over the last 30 years, researchers led by Professor Gyges Williams at the University of Washington,
The only way I wouldn't be here is if I feel depressed, AF, dead or have school. Yo! Thanks, man. That's really, dude, that's really meaningful, man. Thanks, buddy. Me too, I guess. No, for sure, me too. Thanks, homie.
This was an art of altered states of consciousness, of vision. That plants like the Amanita muscaria mushroom or psilocybin mushrooms appear to have been directly connected with this sudden and radical. So to investigate this, I was interested in this mystery. I went down to still surviving shamanistic cultures today, where they drink the powerful vision brew ayahuasca, of which the active ingredient is dimethyltryptamine, DMT, which is actually closely related to psilocybin. Now, normally,
I have a lot of
DMT,
them connections on Twitch like that. Yo, thanks, homie.
when we encountered it in the West,
Sure, dude. I hope you're feeling okay, man. I hope your leg's okay, dude.
Stomachs called monoamine oxidase, which switches off DMT on the continent. But in the Amazon, they've got round. They say taught them how to do it. The DMT in the ayahuasca brew is contained in these leaves from a plant that they call jacuna. And there they mix it together with this vine. And out of 150,000 different species of plants and trees in the world, this is the one that contains which switches off that enzyme in our stomachs and allows the DMT and the leaves to marry together and cooked in water to be absorbed.
Yo, appreciate it, guys.
4-hour journey into extraordinary realms. Now, it's no joke to drink ayahuasca. The ayahuasca brew it has a foul taste, really hideous, and a dreadful smell. And after you've drunk your cup, you'll find within 45 minutes or so that you're sweating, that you're feeling nauseous. Pretty soon you may well be vomiting, you may well have diarrhea. And I'd like to add that I don't think any of the psychedelics should be used for recreation. They have a much more serious and important mission with humanity. So we're not doing this for fun. But what draws people to ayahuasca again and again to brace themselves for this experience is its extraordinary of consciousness. And one of those effects has to do with creativity, and we can see the creative energetic impulse of ayahuasca in the paintings of ayahuasca shamans from really the paintings of Taurid.
Are you serious?
Saturated colors, the amazing visions that they and this creative impulse has also spread to Western artists. Many Western artists now have been deeply influenced by ayahuasca and are also painting their visions. And as these paintings show, another universal experience of ayahuasca is the encounter with seemingly intelligent entities which communicate with us telepathically. Now, I'm making no claim one way or another as to the reality status of these entities. Simply that phenomenologically, in the ayahuasca experience, they are encountered by by people most frequently of all, the spirit of ayahuasca herself, Mother ayahuasca, is a healer, and although she's kind of the mother goddess of the planet,
Okay, I need at least 2 clips. I need 2 clips. I need to kill 2 guards. I just learned that. I just realized I only have 10 bullets. And I was doing bad gun management there. That was okay. A completed without E dying.
Has been fantastically successful in getting people off harmful addictions to hard drugs such as heroin and cocaine. Jacques Mabit at the Takiwasi Clinic in Peru brings heroin and cocaine addicts out there for a month, gives them 12 ayahuasca sessions, and they have encounters with symptoms that lead them not to wish to take heroin or cocaine anymore, and more than half leave completely free of their addiction, never return to it, withdrawal symptoms. And the same healing work is being done in Canada until the Canadian government intervened and stopped these healing practices on the grounds that ayahuasca itself was an illegal drug. Now, I have some personal experience of this. I have not been addicted to heroin or cocaine, but I had a 24-year non-stop cannabis habit. And this started off vaporizing it, but the basic truth is that for 24 years I was pretty much permanently stoned. And I enjoyed being stoned. And I felt that it helped me with my work as a writer, and perhaps at some point did. But when I first encountered ayahuasca, I'd already been smoking cannabis for 16 years, and almost immediately, ayahuasca started giving me messages that this was no longer serving me, that it was leading me to behave in negative and unhelpful ways towards others. Ignore those messages. But that negative behavior that ayahuasca was pointing out did actually get worse and worse. I don't want to put down cannabis, and I believe it's the sovereign right of every adult to choose to smoke cannabis if they wish to do so. But I think I was overusing it, not using it responsibly. Paranoid, jealous, possessive, suspicious, and sexual rages. I often made a partner Santa. And when I went down from my regular encounter with ayahuasca in October 2011, I was given the most and I was put through an ordeal. It was a kind of life review. It's not an accident that ayahuasca is the vine of the dead. I was shown my death, and I was shown that if I came to death, what awaits us after death, without having corrected the mistakes that I was making in my life, that it would be a very bad thing for me. And actually, Mother Ayahuasca literally took me to hell. And that hell was a little like this hell painted by Hieronymus Bosch, a truly terrible place, a little like what the ancient Egyptians called the judgment hall of Osiris, where our souls are weighed in the scales in the presence of the gods against the feather of truth, of justice. And I was shown that the path I was walking,
Fucking guy shot me from the hip there, you see that?
was going to lead me to be found wanting at judgment, and that I might face annihilation in the world beyond death. So perhaps not surprising. When I came back to in October 2008, I gave up cannabis, and I've never smoked it again since then. And actually, and again, I'm speaking only personally with no comment on others' use of cannabis. It's as though a monkey.
I think it's too far.
Incredible ways. Far from my creativity being inhibited, I found myself writing much more productively, much more creatively, much more focused, and much more efficient as well. And I've begun to be able to address those negative aspects of my behavior which cannabis had revealed, and hopefully to make myself slowly, it's a long progress, into a more nurturing, more loving, more positive person. And this whole transformation really has been a personal transformation.
Wow, I can't believe that worked. Let's go.
That leads me to ask, what is death? Our materialist science reduces everything to matter. Science says that we are just meat. We're just when the brain is dead, that's the end of consciousness. There is no life. There is no soul. But actually, any honest scientist will admit that consciousness is the greatest mystery of science. But we don't know exactly how it works. The brain's involved in it.
Food has arrived. Be right back again. No worries, dude.
Could be
Take your time, dude.
Generates consciousness the way a generator makes electricity. Compared to that paradigm, then of course we can't believe in life after death. When the generator's broken, consciousness is gone. But it's equally possible that the relationship, and nothing in neuroscience rules it out, that the relationship is more like the signal to the TV set. When the TV set is broken, of course the TV set continues. And
Yo, Dick, that's jokes. I like that. That's funny.
Traditions that we are immortal souls, temporarily.
Pretty much, man. Pretty accurate, dude.
Physical forms to learn and to grow and to
Pretty accurate.
develop. And really, if we want to know about this mystery, the last people we should ask are materialist reductionist scientists. They have nothing to say on the matter at all. Let's go rather to the ancient Egyptians who put their best minds to work for 3,000 years on the problem of how we should live our lives and prepare for what we will confront afterwards. And the ancient
I should warp them
Egyptians
there.
expressed their ideas in transcendent art, which still touches us emotionally today, and they came to certain very specific conclusions that the soul does survive death. We will be held accountable for the action everything that we do. So we better take this precious opportunity to seriously and make the most of it. And in these inquiries Egyptians were imagination, they had dream states, and it's now known that they used visionary plants like the hallucinogenic blue water lily. It's interesting that the ancient Egyptian tree of life has recently been identified as the Acacia nilotica, which contains high quantities of DMT, dimethyltryptamine, the same active ingredient that we find in ayahuasca. Now, it's difficult to imagine a society more different from the society. We hate visionary states in this.
I need a freaking plan, because am I going to try to just kill them with 10 AR-33 bullets and destroy the consoles? Am I going to actually do that? Because I could, if I do that, then I can just plan to kill those two guys before going into the room, you know what I mean? Let's try that plan.
Sometimes for years, for possessing even small quantities of psilocybin or substances like DMT, whether in its smoking form or in the ayahuasca brew. And ironically, DMT is a brain hormone. We all have it in our its function remains unknown. So it's not as though our society is opposed in principle to altered states of consciousness. I mean, billions are being made by the unholy alliance of psychiatrists and big pharma in over-prescribing drugs to control so-called syndromes like depression or attention deficit disorder in teenagers. And we have a love affair in our society with alcohol. We glorify this most boring of drugs, despite the terrible consequences that it often has. And of course, we love our stimulants, our tea, our coffee, our sugar, and industries are built around these substances, which are valued because of the way they alter consciousness. But what all these improved altered states of consciousness have in common is that none of them have the basics, which I would call the alert, which is good for the more mundane aspects of science, it's good for prosecution, good for politics, but I think then
See, that's not too bad. What happened was I missed the console though, right? If I put those 10 bullets on the console, it would have at least been able to turn to the left, kill the guard at least, throw the mine, and then figure out what the next steps are after that.
Pollution that have resulted from the single-minded pursuit of profit, the horrors of nuclear proliferation, the spectre of hunger, millions every night go to bed starving. We can't even solve this problem, despite our alert problem-solving state of consciousness. And look what's happening in the Amazon, the lungs of our planet, this precious home of biodiversity. the old-growth rainforest being cut down and replaced with soybean farms so we can feed cattle so that we can all eat hamburgers. Only a truly insane global state of consciousness could allow such an abomination to occur. And I did a back-of-an-envelope calculation during the Iraq War. It seems to me that 6 months' expenditure on the Iraq War would have solved the problem of the Amazon forever. Would be sufficient to compensate the peoples of the Amazon so that no single tree ever needed to be garden and look after that. We can't make that decision as a global community. We can spend countless billions on warfare and hate, fear, and suspicion and division, but we can't get together the collective effort.
I guess I should have just kept going, trying, but it's okay.
And this is perhaps why.
Because I do need to practice that drop down with the AR-33, you know?
Kind of reverse missionary activity. When I've asked shamans about the sickness of the West, they say it's quite simple. You guys have severed your connection with spirit. Unless you reconnect yourself and do so soon, you're going to bring the whole house of cards down around your heads and ours. And rightly or wrongly, they believe that ayahuasca is the remedy for that sickness. And many now are being called to the Amazon ayahuasca shamans throughout the West, offering the brew, often under the radar, to bring about consciousness change. And it's true that the message of ayahuasca, the universal message, is about the sacred, enchanted, and the interdependence of material and spiritual realms. And it's impossible to work with ayahuasca for long without being deeply and profoundly affected by this message. And let's not forget that ayahuasca is not alone. It's part of an ancient world-wide system that targets careful, responsible alteration of consciousness. It's recently been shown by scholars that the kykeon used in the Eleusinian mysteries in ancient Greece was almost certainly a psychedelic brew, that the soma of the Vedas may well have been a brew based upon the Amanita muscaria mushroom. We have the DMT in the ancient Egyptian tree of life. We have the whole global culture, surviving shamanism. What it's all about is a state of consciousness that's designed to help us find balance and harmony. The ancient Egyptians would have called it Ma'at, with the universe, and to remain mindful that what we're here to undertake on Earth while immersed in matter is fundamentally a soul, a journey that may go back to the very origins of what made us human in the first place. And I stand here invoking the hard-won right of freedom of speech to call for and demand another right to be recognized. That is the right of adult sovereignty over consciousness. There's a war on consciousness in our society, and if we as adults are not allowed to make sovereign decisions about what to experience with our own consciousness while doing no harm to others, including the decision to use responsibly ancient and sacred visionary paths when we cannot in any way, and it's useless for our society to go around the world imposing our form of democracy on others while we nourish this rot at the heart of society. We do not allow consciousness. It may even be that we're denying ourselves the next vital step in our own evolution by allowing this state of affairs to continue, and who knows, perhaps our immortal destiny as well. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Here we go. And boom. Graham, great to see you again. Nice to meet you. And we were just talking about your new book, America Before, that there's two versions of it. There's one version, and then there's a newer version that's a Barnes & Noble version that's specific to Barnes & Noble that has an extra whole chapter in it.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, and so they can get that at Barnes & Noble. I'm just trying to keep bookstores alive, man. They're on the way out.
I think it's really important, and that's one of the reasons that I did this, because I had finished the book, and then Barnes & Noble came to me through my publishers and said they would like to do a special edition of the book, but in order to do that, I needed to write them some extra material. And I had a lot of material that I thought, well, this is an opportunity
Beautiful. So if people want that, it's a little bit different. There's a small gold square.
Okay, so first of all, my website, grahamhancock.com, has a page about America before, and the link to the Barnes & Noble edition is there, as well as the link to the standard edition, which is on Amazon, and iTunes, and all kinds of other places. So grahamhancock.com, the America Before page, the link to the Barnes & Noble edition is right there.
All right, there it is. So, how is this? Before we even get into the book, what is it?
Go to Talks and Events.
Okay, we're on the Graham Hancock website.
No, go to books. Go to books. Go to America Before.
There it is.
Go to the United States. You can see Amazon, Barnes, and there's Barnes and Noble.
Special edition.
Special edition. Click on that.
There you go. And then the ebook as well.
The ebook is available. The audio book, which I read myself,
Excellent.
is available there. And then if you scroll down,
I am so happy you read it yourself. I get angry when someone else reads someone who
yeah, I enjoy reading books myself, and what I've learned from feedback I get from audiences and presentations.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. It's just weird when someone else is talking in your voice. Like, hey man, I know you.
You know that I write fiction as well as non-fiction.
Yeah.
And the one thing I can't read is my fiction.
Really?
Because fiction requires some lessons. You really need an actor
Yes.
to read a fiction book who can get into the different characters. But for a non-fiction book like American Before, it's very straightforward for us to read.
I agree. I'm a tremendous Stephen King fan, but when I read Stephen King's books, when he reads them or listen to them when he reads them, they're terrible.
I don't think a novelist should read their own novels. I think that's a job for an actor. Oddly enough, I've just been reading Stephen King's Dark Tower series. I'm very near the end of the 7th volume of that.
Yeah, I'm just a giant fan of his, but
Me
man,
too.
when he reads it like he's just reading it.
Yeah.
It's like, oof, this is rough. It's hard to anyway, America Before.
So there's
Give us
on the website. There's details about the book. There's a page where there are links to the book, and also the other thing I would like to take this opportunity to mention is I'm in America and Canada for the next 7 months, and I'm going to be doing something like presentations in something like 20 American cities and 3 Canadian cities in Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto, and that's
Excellent.
all on the Talks and Events page of my website. So if anybody wants to come along and meet this old man in person, I'll be good.
Do you do these at theaters, and do you allow Q&As?
Absolutely. I allow Q&As. I encourage that. I feel as an author that, frankly speaking, I'm nothing without my audience. I know my readers, and what I try to do at events is to give back as much as I can. So if people want to take pictures with me, I am absolutely up for that. I don't understand why anybody would want to do that, but it's fun. It's kind of fun. And when people want to come to the desk where I'm time and ask me personal questions, I'm ready to do that. Sometimes on the British book tour that I just finished, I was behind in the event space for 4 hours after the event finished.
Wow.
Signing and taking pictures. But it's a joy. It's a really opportunity for me to interact with the people who actually make my work matter. So.
That's fantastic. Beautiful. So what inspired this? I know there's always been, well, you, first of all, we should just say, for people who don't know, you have been at the front of the line for decades, talking about these lost civilizations, and from reading your work, I mean, I think I first read your work in the 90s. You exposed me to a lot of these, what were at the time controversial ideas that have now been substantiated by actual evidence, and all the water erosion stuff on the Sphinx, and I've since had Dr. Robert Schock on the podcast to talk about that as well. But all this stuff was at one point very controversial, and now far less.
Yes.
I mean, whatever traditional academics and traditional historians that are trying to, I guess it's archaeologists, that were trying to resist, they've let go a lot of that. They've had to with things like Göbekli Tepe.
They've had to because the evidence has overwhelmed them. And Göbekli Tepe is an excellent example. Prior to the discovery and excavation of the site in Anatolia in Turkey, very firm view of archaeologists that there had been no megalithic architecture anywhere on Earth. And when I say megalithic, I mean literally big stones, stone circles, huge constructions, nothing like that before at the very, very earliest 6,000 years ago. and they would point to sites in, for example, Malta, a site called Gigantia, which is about 5,800 years old. That's the oldest megalithic architecture in the world. And they could understand how that was because these were agricultural societies that generated surpluses, free up people who could become specialists in architecture, in astronomy, in geometry, and they could apply their skills to the construction of these sites. But what they never considered possible was that a society that was hunter-gatherers would have created a gigantic megalithic site, and then suddenly Göbekli Tepe is discovered. It dates to 11,600 years ago. It's more than 5,000 years older than the supposedly oldest megalithic architecture in the world. And it is in the center where there had been no previous evidence of agriculture, but the moment Göbekli Tepe appears, agriculture appears as well. And this is just something that's really hard for archaeologists to explain. They've suddenly got 5,000 years of missing history that they just never taken into account. And what I see them doing is largely avoiding.
Oh, I think I went just a bit too fast there. I think I was a little overzealous. I picked up Perfect Dank Kit. Yo, I have Perfect Dark, man. I was thinking of playing it actually. I'm having some fun though. That was actually pretty good. Like, I did get it 100 YOLO completion once, but I want to lower that time, you know? I want to go just a little bit faster. Last time I killed every single friggin' person. This time I want to like skip some like box guards maybe. You know what I mean? That'd save a lot of time. But I lost a lot of health there because I waited too long and the guy threw a grenade.
In the media, like how dare this journalist propose that history might be different or that we might have a forgotten chapter in the
I might switch the game out. I might play some Perfect Dark. I might play some combat sim. I own it right here, man. I have it here.
I was full of shit, and that whole way my work was greeted, and to a certain extent still is greeted by archaeologists, but things have central to my work.
I got really lucky there. You see that? See how lucky I got?
There was...
I also got super lucky there. You see that?
When I wrote Fingerprints of the Gods, but there was no compelling evidence for a global cataclysm then. All the evidence seemed to point to that time and a massive event. And then from 2007 onwards,
whatever,
more than a decade after I wrote Fingerprints of the Gods, we get a group of more than 60 major scientists who are seriously...
Wow, that was really big. That was really big.
Multiple fragments of a giant comet 12,000 years ago, and that this caused a huge rise in sea level, extinction.
I think we might be good.
Not saying that it also wiped out a lost advanced civilization of prehistory. I'm saying that.
Yes.
But what has changed is that we now have compelling, hard scientific evidence. I'm not saying every scientist accepts it. It's the nature of science to dispute findings. But we have a group of 60 major figures who have seriously proposed this in all the leading mainstream journals, and it's changed the balance of power in this argument, because one thing that they used to say is Hancock can't be right because there was no global cataclysm.
Oh man, yo, this is a great run. Okay, what I gotta do? I just gotta. Alright, here we go.
And the other thing that's changed a lot is the attitude of the man in the street to authority. That has changed. Back in the 90s, authority figures were the gatekeepers that controlled everything. But authority figures in a discipline like archaeology said Hancock is completely wrong.
That was a really good try, though.
Stuff up. That would generally be believed, not by everybody, but by the majority of people. Today, to have a mainstream authority figure say that to me is actually an advantage, because people are so distrustful of authority, and rightly so, because they've been lied to by authority figures in all fields for so long. The bullshit has been so enormous that people are finally waking up, but we can't trust what authority figures say.
And I think we can thank the internet for that. I'm sure you've seen the more recent evidence of a crater that they just discovered, like fairly recently.
Greenland.
Yes, enormous.
It's an enormous crater. It's 18 miles wide. It had not been discovered before because it's under ice. It's under a lot of ice. At the end of the ice age, Greenland is one area which never lost its ice cover completely, whereas North America...
I might end the stream with some Perfect Dark combat simulator, dude.
2 miles deep. Europe the same,
but
Greenland
that'll be, I don't know,
its ice,
in a bit.
The other
I really want to see if I can get PB on just one of these levels, you
know? And what's interesting about Greenland is there's already evidence of comet impact in Greenland, which goes back to papers published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2013. But they found what are called impact proxies in Greenland, in other words, nanodiamonds, carbon spherules, and evidence of a lot of platinum and iron was found in a layer in the ice dating to 12,800 years ago. The next development, and you're absolutely right, a few months ago, was the discovery of this humongous crater in Greenland, and evidence that it was caused by an iron impact of some kind. Now, dating of it, I would be irresponsible to say that that crater definitely dates to 12,800 years ago, because the work has not been done to prove that yet. But what I can say, and what the specialists who have explored and excavated the crater are saying, is that it's recent. They can say for sure that it happened during the last ice age. Under it, under the crater, is nothing but massively disturbed and destroyed and completely wrecked ice from the ice age, from the Pleistocene. Above it is smooth, perfect ice from our epoch, which is called the Holocene, which began about 11,600 years ago. So all the evidence suggests that this crater dates to that period between 12,800 and 11,600 years ago, but to absolutely confirm that, more work needs to be done. But it's part of a growing pattern. The Younger Dryas impact scientists, they call themselves, they call this the Younger Dryas.
Improves curfews on bars and restaurants here.
It's because there was
Shut down
a
strip
period
club. Oh my
in
god.
the Earth's geological history that
Are you
shows
affected,
it's called
Nick?
the
Are you
Dryas,
sad?
which
Are you
lasted
sad with that, homie?
2,700 years.
Does that affect you personally, directly? I'm sorry if it does.
So it's a very
Not judging.
mysterious period. We see
I think
a
it's stupid because all it's doing is push these things underground. Yeah.
rapidly, we see rises in sea level, we see huge collapse in global temperature.
It's craziness,
it's a
man.
cataclysmic,
It's so
event.
crazy.
And what is
We're
becoming
like canceling,
clearer
we're causing our own
and
depression
clearer
because of some potential virus.
evidence
Like,
coming behind it was
it's absurd.
behind it.
It's so absurd.
As more and more evidence comes in, we realize how widespread
We
it
might
was.
switch
They
this to an
found
Alex
evidence of the
Jones
impacts as far south as
dystopia.
Antarctica now.
He's
Previously
saying that
focused
Jeff
very
Bezos and everyone wants a
now as far
dystopia.
south as Antarctica, as far east as Syria. This was truly a global.
Which is a good word. It's a really good word for the vocabulary, right?
And it's my case that it wiped out
Wow, that's
the
lucky.
previous episode of human civilization.
Because they're already illegal.
The center of this cataclysm was a civilization
What's illegal?
that we would regard as
Rippers?
advanced, not as simple.
Rippers aren't illegal.
This cataclysm.
And I should say, for anyone
Wow.
who's really fascinated right now, please maybe pause. And
There's
go
no way.
listen to
There's
the
no way.
one that
I just want to see. I just want to see if he was there or not. Like
really
stuck.
goes into depth about the impact
Because I waited too long for the
of
grenade. You know what I mean? That
the
was just.
evidence of the
It was
very
just a
quick
bad run.
demise of the Ice Age,
And this will be
and
pro-
what
oh,
may
the
have
Tot
resulted
houses,
in all
yeah.
these floods that you read about in the Epic of Gilgamesh, you read about in Noah's
Yeah,
Ark,
man.
and that all these things are probably tales of stories
They'll take the
that
whole
people pass
pie.
down from generation to generation that survive this time.
Yeah, because we now know that at that time, between
No, it's
12,800
crazy, man.
and 11,600 years ago, truly global cataclysmic events involving...
My parents were out in Ottawa
rapid
downtown
sea
last
level
night, and they
did
said,
occur.
yeah, there was a lot of people, which is good. In the market, they said the market was busy, which is really good. That's really important,
Starts
right?
being a memory, an
Yes.
account of real events. It's been my privilege to work very closely with Randall.
And if
Collins.
Ottawa is
He's
freaking like that,
is
Vancouver has a lot of
absolutely
cops
amazing.
too.
He
Ottawa
is
has a lot of
total
cops.
genius.
Vancouver's a little
He's
more
also
strict,
a gentle
though.
giant and such
They're-
a
the
kind,
cops, they're
generous,
kinda
spirited person. It's a joy to work.
Not cool.
Every minute spent traveling across the Channel Scablands in Washington State with Randall, and seeing things through his eyes really opened my eyes to the scale of this disaster. You know, you could look at these giant boulders called glacial erratics, and they just look odd sitting there in the landscape. But when you really consider how they got there, that they got there in icebergs the size of hurricanes, that were carried on floods that were at least 500 up to 1,000 feet deep, tearing through the channeled scablands, literally ripping the landscape apart. Then the icebergs would ground on valley sides. The floodwaters would recede. The icebergs would be left, giant icebergs. And as they melted away, they would be
off. What? How did I not kill him?
And they're scattered
Whatever.
all over the landscape. And you look at that and you think anything that was underneath
They shut
that
down the economy 3 months, still have the time
12,800
amount
years
of
ago
cops
is
employed.
gone completely.
Same amount of cops
There can't
employed.
be anything left. Utterly destroyed.
And I would encourage people
Yeah,
that are
man,
interested
like,
in
the
this,
evidence
please
for
watch the
dystopia
YouTube
is,
videos
like,
of it, 'cause Randall
really
provides all
mounting
sorts
now.
of, video and photographic evidence
Yeah.
where you can take a look at the landscape and get a perspective of how immense this destruction was.
Yeah. It's really. It's
I think I
really
need a
important
coffee, man. I
to-
got coffee.
to
I got
see
coffee
that.
right here.
It's easy enough to talk about floods and cataclysms, but actually to see its effect on the landscape directly is it has an emotional impact. I felt emotional traveling across.
Honestly, dude, I might try S200.
Part of an event.
Yeah, the dystopian two-tier society theory isn't so crazy anymore. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
the evidence continues to build.
we really gave
gone over old ground, but I went over
the Illuminati and banks the benefit of the doubt, and Amazon the benefit of the doubt, and we got shafted yet again. We got shafted again. Rich and peasants, yeah, we got shafted again. It's crazy. It's so unnecessary.
Which further supports the Dryas impact hypothesis and the notion that multiple fragments of a giant comet.
We need like a lawyer for the man, for the people. We need a lawyer that represents
what was the motivation
people,
behind
like
creating
unions
this
and
book,
shit.
America Before?
It's a curious mixture.
The Union Party. We should run the Union Party of America for presidency.
Of a lost civilization.
Fucked up when we let them bail out the rich and themselves. Yeah, yo, exactly. That's what I was talking. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Thinking exactly that, man. It's like, why should we give them the benefit of the doubt for anything? You know what I mean?
When I published a book called Underworld that followed 7 years of scuba diving.
But then it's like it's not. Then the blame isn't okay. Then the blame is it the banks that's the blame, or is it the structure? Right? Like I know I'm not trying to sound like friggin' blaming. Oh, don't hate the player, hate the game. But really, it's the structure because the bank, it's the government that fails because the government makes the decision of who is going to declare bankruptcy or fail and who's going to be revived, right? So the blame is like should be government, not necessarily bank only. You know what I
New
mean?
information started to come out that touched on the lost civilization idea, and I couldn't just stand by and ignore that information. Then, as I was researching that book, I became aware of.
I gotta practice that. I gotta learn where exactly to be.
From the Americas specifically, completely rewrites the story of human history. That the Americas
I'm getting absolutely owned.
have been misrepresented for a very
No one cares anymore.
by archaeology, and archaeologists will
Yeah,
annoyed
exactly.
for saying that. They have a way of forgetting.
I'm so far disconnected from it. Like
saying, oh, well, we knew that all along. It wasn't the case. But the fact of the matter remains.
Apathy,
for the
man.
best part of 50 years, from the 1960s through until about 2010, American archaeology was locked in a dogma that they actually had a name for, which was Clovis first. That they invented.
Yo, Jonalis has returned. Where'd you get a Mickey D's, man?
We don't know what they
Would you
called
get
themselves.
get
They
Big
were
Mac?
hunter-gatherers. They first appear in the archaeological record 13,000 years ago, and they vanish from the archaeological record 12,000. And for a very long time, it was maintained that these were the first Americans, that no human being touched the soil of the Americas until 13,000.
I might change levels.
Just animals, but no humans at all. And any archaeologist who attempted to dispute that, and I use the word deliberately, there should be no rule.
Oh, I didn't practice the door. Whatever. Just go for it.
Any archaeologist who challenged that would face severe problems with his or her. They would be mocked and humiliated at conferences, like an archaeologist called Gyges from Canada.
Where was he? He was friggin' like smoking a doobie over there, man.
Humiliated at conferences, insulted, accused of making stuff up. Their research funding.
Wow.
Basically, to challenge Clovis first was the end of your archaeological career. So naturally, very few archaeologists wanted to.
What was this gentleman in the
He's called Gyges. And interestingly, the Smithsonian just in 2017.
I should have just reset it. But I've been resetting for so many friggin' times. With that, eating a quarter pounder, 2 medium fries. Oh man, just burn it off. I mean, yeah, you did hurt your foot, but I mean, or your legs, but like, just burn it off, man. That's what I do. I don't eat sugar, but I eat pretty much anything. I do like pretty much no sugar, no fat, no butter.
Is he still alive? He's still alive.
But I eat like a lot of
It's
meat.
vindicated, you know, and it's
I eat
kind of
burgers. I
it's
love burgers. I like
vindicated.
burgers.
There's almost a place in folklore
You know,
for the individual.
Work
who
it
is
off or
scorned
run it off or
humiliated,
whatever, you know.
You know, by others, but who turns out to
That's
be
high energy
to be
food,
fine.
man. That's high protein, high energy.
But my point about
Your
this
ligaments,
is that
your ligaments
what it
too. You
meant
need some
was,
fats for that.
Since it was the dogma that
Cartilage.
Clovis was first, that the oldest dates were
You know?
13,400 years ago, there seemed to be no logic to archaeologists that didn't do that. You know how it is with archaeology that
Carbs
the
of the
upper levels
potatoes.
are the youngest, and the deeper you go, the older it gets. That's why we say upper Paleolithic for the late Ice Age, and lower Paleolithic
I don't care.
for the late Stone Age, and lower for the older Stone Age. And the feeling was no need to dig below the Clovis era, because we already know that there were no materials there before that. And then a few archaeologists, I've mentioned Jacques Saint-Amand, but another is Al Gudjier from the University of South Carolina, who excavated a site called Topper in South Carolina. Now, Topper is an incredibly rich Clovis site. It's full of their tools, their points. They made these special flint points that were used as arrowheads and spears. A great Clovis site. He finished excavating the Clovis level, and then he did something that was supposed not to be done. He decided to dig deeper, and he carried on digging down, and there was a layer of about 1.5 meters of barren soil, and then beneath that, more human artifacts. And they finally date those back to more than 50,000.
Shoot me through! No, it's over.
2017, published in Nature.
Can't believe I'm still alive. I think I'm inside the console there.
Paleontologist at the San Diego Natural History Museum.
Whoa, 117? That was lightning. That was lightning.
Paleontologists.
Wow, that was a
Published
fast
in
run.
Nature magazine, evidence for human presence in North America 130,000 years ago. Now, this has really put the cat amongst the pigeons. Now, if humans were present in
fat.
North America 130,000 years
What's
ago,
high fat? The
and
food?
archaeologists have been telling us for
it's-
50 years that they were only present
you know,
for
it's-
13,000.
It's okay. If you do a workout, it's appropriate, right? It's appropriate
Humans
amount.
in North America capable of doing stuff. And
You
the
know, just lift or
archaeological dogma has
friggin'
prevented
push-ups
any
or
search for
leg
one
raises,
thing
whatever,
until
man.
until
You
very
know?
recently.
What was the evidence from 130,000 years ago?
Okay, so what? It's not the. Let me be clear about this, because this is something that is often misrepresented in my views. It is not the
Don't remember when
evidence for an advanced
I followed
civilization
you, but I'm glad I did.
defined
Yo, thanks,
30,000
man.
years ago in America.
Thanks, dude. I'm
The
glad.
evidence that
I'm
we
glad
find
you
is evidence
followed
for
me.
human presence.
My
And
man,
what they were doing was very
Grenades.
much Stone Age stuff. It's a mastodon. It's a mastodon skeleton.
Awesome. I'm glad you're watching,
that
dude.
was
You followed him while you were high.
It was actually found by accident during road construction near San Diego.
Yeah, really.
An archaeologist
In a
was
wheat field on Jamaica. Off. None of you threw a grenade?
and
Come
they
on.
investigated it thoroughly.
Because he had that rainbow background and club music. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was. I couldn't do that though. I was like, you know what? I want to play some Goldeneye, but I don't want to have like a friggin' seizure or nightmares. You know what I mean?
By human
Like I just want to friggin' chill on a Sunday, play some Goldeneye.
That one tooth had left standing upright in the ground, and another had been left beside it. But a femur of the animal had been taken away completely from us. And there were assemblages of
Ah, so those shots
instruments
at least distracts
bones, and the
them.
conclusion of the team was that only one kind
At
of
least makes
creature
them like
could have done that
duck or whatever. You know what I mean? So I don't even have to hit them.
mastodon, and that's human beings. That's classic. A classic. So this.
Did I
sets the
snipe his
goalposts
head there?
Suddenly we have to consider that humans have been over 130,000
Wow,
years.
that was such a good
We already know
friggin'.
that a dogmatic approach to archaeology has rather refused to look at anything older than 30,000 years ago. And what it does is...
Ah, there should have only been two guys.
That we
I think
need
you
to
heard
be
me.
looking at those missing 100,000
I missed
plus
it.
years. We need to be looking at it hard. Of course, the immediate reaction has
That was
not
pretty fast,
been to go
and the health was good. That was actually really good. 56.
Most archaeologists have responded by saying this is impossible.
Ah, no, I probably
It
was
can't be,
sad
it
or
can't be so, but that's
scared in the
precisely what they
night.
said to Jacques Saint-Amand, who said that humans were in
Or did it in the night. Yo, I'm gonna use a washroom.
It's precisely what they said to
I'm
Al
going
Gudjier,
to,
who
I'll
said
be back in a
humans
minute.
were
I'll be back in a sec.
50,000 years ago.
Yo,
and they
thanks
were
for
both
nailing this for
right.
coming back
I
on.
believe that Tom Demeray and his team, you don't get a big article published in Nature unless it's already pretty solidly based and pretty much peer reviewed. It has produced a reaction. I would be wrong to say that it's universally accepted. It's very much challenged,
What
but
is the
it's
challenge?
intriguing.
What is the challenge?
The challenge fundamentally comes from we archaeologists know that there were no human beings in the Americas that far back. To put it in perspective, it's about 60,000 years before the first evidence of human beings in Europe. It's about 60,000 years before the first evidence of human beings in Australia.
And this is just evidence of the first human beings.
Yes.
We have to point out how difficult it is to find evidence.
It's extremely difficult to find. You know, sometimes we imagine that archaeologists are working with masses of skeletal material. No, they're not. They're not. I mean, this is one of the ironies. The whole Clovis first dogma, you would think that they had masses of material to work with. They did have the tools, but in terms of skeletal remains, just one single skeletal remain.
Now, one of the things that Michael Shermer had sent me was this dispute that perhaps the bones had been cracked open by the excavation material.
Yeah,
by the excavation machines.
I saw Michael's email last night, and I appreciate that Michael wants to continue to engage with this subject, and that's his job. He's a professional skeptic, and it's his role to do so. But what he misses out, it's true that a new paper has been published, which raises questions over the what's called the Cerruti Mastodon site, which is the site that Tom Demeray at San Diego Natural History Museum excavated. And what's interesting, since Michael took the trouble to write the questions, can I just read you something that I responded to on this? Sure. Which is that basically this paper was in no way a refutation of the original paper in Nature. As a matter of fact, the gentleman who wrote that paper never even looked at the archaeological remains that are now in the San Diego Natural History Museum. What he based it on is reference, I'm quoting from the abstract of the paper itself, reference to a freeway right-of-way map and construction plans, contemporary road building practices, and worksite photographs available on the internet. In other words, the site was not visited. They simply looked at secondary references. They did not look at the archaeological material, and they ignored the entire argument of Tom Demeray and his colleagues, who had already addressed that issue.
They didn't look at the bones?
They did not look at the bones.
Cannot ignore
when you break a fresh bone, it has a
Demeray.
characteristic kind of spiral fracture that does not happen when you break a fossilized bone. And Tom Demeray and his team specifically ruled out road-making machinery as responsible for this breaking pattern, because they actually carried out experiments on modern elephants, deceased elephants, and they broke their bones, and the kind of fracture that you get in a fresh green bone is completely different from the kind of fracture you get in a fossilized bone. So unfortunately, this paper pays no attention to that. It just looks at road plans and says there was road work there, it must have been done by road work. I think it's very sloppy, very weak, and it's certainly not the answer. We can expect ongoing debate, and that is healthy, but this is not a strong case.
So this points to the first evidence that we found. And is there any effort underway to try to uncover more evidence that from a similar time?
Well, I'm going to cite Tom Demeray, the chief paleontologist at the San Diego Natural History Museum. That's what he would like to see. He makes the point to me. I interview him. I spent a day with him at the Natural History Museum. He was very generous with his time. I did an extended interview, and I quote from it in America before. And his wish is that archaeologists, instead of spending all their time trying to find ways to dismiss and get rid of his findings, his wish is that they would spend a little bit of that time looking at deposits older than 13,400 years, and even being willing to go back as far as 130,000 years. That's would be a proper scientific response. Here is a thorough body of work put forward by a very senior group of scientists who hesitated before they published it. They had the information back in the 1990s, but it wasn't until refined dating techniques later than in the 21st century that they finally were sure what they had, and they published it in Nature in 2017. It's an important study, and I think what's going to happen is that we're going to find much more evidence of a very ancient human presence in the Americas, and that's what Tom Demeray thinks as well. And as he points out, if we don't look, then we're never going to find it. We allow God to stop us looking and say, no, it's impossible that humans were in the Americas, so we won't bother to look. What a failure of science that is. And to spend all the time instead trying to get rid of the evidence that doesn't fit the current pattern.
What's so fascinating that just this fortuitous discovery during a construction site could change the way people perceive things. You just gotta wonder how much of that stuff is under. I mean, how deep did they have to go to find it?
Well, so this is a road that's being made. So those are basically pretty deep down, 10, 15 feet down. The grader is going through and it varies from place to place depending on soil deposition and stratification of the soil. But the key point is that what you need to do is go deeper than 13,000.
Yo, DJ Farboy, thanks, man. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm gonna need it, dude. There's gonna be a lot of failures, my man.
Doesn't see the point.
How you doing, my man? Thanks, buddy. Thanks for tuning in, dude. Thanks for putting up with this random podcast, too.
I wouldn't place so much trust in it. But I've spent a lot of time with archaeologists dig deeper. What those archaeologists all confirm is that there have been tens of thousands of years.
Whatever.
And it's not
I thought he threw a grenade, but whatever.
That could be pushed back
Whatever.
to 130,000 years ago. Part of the argument about straits between Alaska.
Good, how about you? Ask like my favorite level. Aw, yeah, no way. Sick, yeah, man. Heck yeah. Yeah, I remember. I think you said that before. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I want to get a PB on this, maybe. I'm trying to go a little faster. My PB on this, I killed like every single guard. You know what I mean? If I can skip those box guards, you know. I didn't know about that bridge thing. If I can just completely ignore that. Yo, Silage with 13. Yo, DJ Farboy, tell me how. Share the knowledge, share the wealth. Please tell me. What did you do? What did you do? What's the secret?
What happened?
Thought it was like 117.
Years ago, there had been a period of global warming. The ice
Your beginning must have been really fast then. Who knows, right? I don't know. I have no idea. Do you have it? Do you have a video of it? Do you have a clip? Can I go on the Elite and see it? Can we pull it up? I might pull it up when I load my vape.
Between 140,000 years ago and 120,000 years ago, there was an episode of global warming and ice.
Hell yeah, man.
The same opportunity to enter the
Sick, buddy. That's good. You are probably going to maybe do better on it too. Because me, I haven't been able to 114 for like a few months now, and you're like going even higher and higher faster. You know. No vid. That's okay. Everything just came together in the run. Yeah.
An assembly of all the latest
nice, man.
information that casts doubt on the
your trajectory, like your graph, is much. You're still like the sigmoidal curve is still very on the uprise. You know what I mean?
Then our whole
mine has definitely plateaued with Silo Agent. I got so lucky there again.
An absolute article of fate that civilization began in the old world. And indeed, I have a book in my library called History.
You shot me there.
Sumer, and it's by Samuel.
So who can shoot me from here?
This is where
they both
civilization began. The culture that we call the Sumerians in Mesopotamia, and that it began.
I failed like 5 114s, and I skipped 114 by luck almost.
It has nothing to do with the New World at all because the New World was populated so late.
Nice, man. Yeah, sometimes it just flows. I was really surprised with my 114. I was so surprised. Because that was a 3-second skip for me. I went from 117 to 114. But I needed a break from that level, man. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that anymore right now. You know, I need something a little different.
Get into South America, the Amazon, just huge areas of land that were very, very offered great potential for human occupation. Dogma has said there were no humans there. Now the first bits of
I was getting sick of Silo. Yeah.
There were humans there.
Congrats, man. I'm glad. That's a good PB to just take a pause on, I guess. Who else has that? I saw Yendis had a 113 recently. He submitted his 113 to that Terrible Children showcase with Cytosis.
like it.
That was a good run. Oh no, motherfucker.
The Amazon is a
I'm getting sloppy with the shots. I gotta go for the head. I have to just, I just have to really just aim my friggin' stick up a little bit to the head.
The Amazon basin
It's terrible there.
huge. The Amazon basin.
Yo,
is
YouTube thinks he's terrible, man. What's up with YouTube, dude? What is going on with YouTube, man?
5.5 million square kilometers.
I think it's because he plays like friggin'. He plays like Creedence Clearwater Revival and Be Right Back. Got off the dog. He plays like Neil Young on a stream and stuff. All the friggin'. What's it called?
It's
Copyright
like saying,
guys, you know?
We've done world archaeology, but we've just ignored India.
Simon and Garfunkel, the
We've done world
Beatles.
archaeology, but we've just
The
ignored the
Beatles.
Amazon.
That's probably it.
Same argument.
That's probably why it is. I just discovered it. It's the Beatles. 100%.
There was a preconception.
100% it's the
Human
Beatles.
beings couldn't have
100% because that same thing happened with
It's not a resource-rich area. The soils are
with actually the yo-yoing group I'm with. There was one of the guys, a world-winning top spin top freestyle wasn't put online because he used Obladi Oblada. It was like big. That's probably it, the Beatles. I think so, man. I wouldn't be surprised. Even just one little bit, they take the entire channel down. I wouldn't be surprised.
And turned into soya.
Never use the Beatles or old like 60s music in your like friggin' videos. Because Hendrix, right?
Large cities, enormous cities, which were larger than the.
Don't use Hendrix because they're gonna tag that too.
System in 1540.
Off.
First European across the entire length of South America, from west to east, along the Amazon. He reported seeing incredible cities, arts and crafts, millions of people, a thriving culture. And 100 years later, when other Europeans got into the Amazon, they couldn't find these cities. So they said, "Oh, Francisco Orellana, that was his name, made it all up. It was just a fantasy."
Francisco Orellana, isn't that a baseball player?
As the princes of the Amazon have proceeded, we've begun to see the traces of those cities. What happened was that the Spaniards brought smallpox into the Amazon. Smallpox devastated the local population. There was no immunity to it. There was
No.
massive die-off. The cities were deserted. Within 50 years, they were completely overgrown by the jungle. That's why they were not seen by the explorers who came in 100 years later. But now the jungle's being cleared, those cities are emerging. And we can say that a city like London, which had a population of roughly 50,000 in the 16th century, there were cities of that size all over the Amazon. Huge numbers of them. And a possible total population of the Amazon that exceeded 20 million. Yes, 20 million. This is the latest evidence from the Amazon.
Really?
And then you ask yourself, how did they do that? How did they feed 20 million people in the Amazon? Because it's a fact, rainforest soils are poor. It's one of the reasons these soybean farms are a really stupid idea, because once you clear
Obladi Oblada, life goes on without your channel. Yeah, dude, that's so sad. It's sad, man.
The answer was, they invented a soil.
There were two.
Has a name.
Where'd that guy
It's
come
called
from?
Terra Preta. Archaeologists refer to it as Amazonian dark earth or Amazonian black earth. It's a man-made soil. It's thousands of years old. It's
You know, it does make a lot of sense because, like, they're still copywriting claiming Hendrix. And Hendrix died a long time ago. So all this conspiracy of, like, these young artists being killed, right? I'm really not surprised.
It's highly sought after in the Amazon, and it explains how they fed these people. There was science.
Like, they even are copyriting Woodstock
Well,
now, you know?
that's
Like,
not
come on.
understood. It's
Woodstock
still
was
not
ended up
understood
being
by
free
soil
concert.
experts to this day is how that was done. It's
You
one
can't
of
put
the
Woodstock
intriguing
video online,
evidences
or else the music will be copyrighted.
It's
absurd.
in the Amazon.
It just makes me so angry.
Kind of science in the Amazon.
Jamie's got an image of it up there. So this is it.
Eric's channel. Eric had a freaking YouTube channel. Eric's being silenced. Why?
By Burns? Did they use
Why?
controlled burns?
They did. One way
That makes me
it was
so
achieved
angry,
was to do wet burn of middens. They would be burned and smolder. They wouldn't burn.
Hendrix died 50 years ago, 1 week, 2 days ago.
And
Jesus.
that, what is called biochar,
Really?
would result, and that's part of the fertility of the soil.
That's
Mystery is the
crazy, man.
microbial content of the
1970.
soil, which is completely different from the microbes in neighboring
That's awful, man.
soils, and that remains unexplained.
So did
we have in the UK structures that are called extremely geometrical. For example, the octagon surrounding a square. At a place like Sahara in the Amazon, you can find a square perfectly enclosing a circle. Now that is an exercise called squaring the circle that our
I just want to see if he's there. I don't think he is. There's 3 guys.
Well, we want to make a soybean farm here, so we're just going to.
I think I make too much noise when, I think I should shoot more to the left. I think I know where I mess up. Yeah, no signal. Really? It says I'm still streaming 141? Really?
What could we do to find out more about this? Obviously, they don't want to destroy more jungle. And luckily, we have a technology, which is LiDAR, as I mentioned, which uses radar. And using LiDAR, they've been able to identify many more of these sites. And then to get to the sites without destroying the jungle, and to begin excavations on them, and to find that they go back, in the cases of the ones that...
It's back now? Nice.
At least 3,000 years.
I died. I ripped. I RIP'd.
An intriguing development, completely unexplained in our understanding of the
It didn't work.
What it suggests is a heritage of extremely ancient knowledge.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming back, dude.
Square or circular earthwork that's perfectly aligned between north, southeast, and west on an enormous scale. There has to be a background to that. There has to be a reason for doing it. And the evidence is none of these sites refuse found in where.
Oh, I'm shooting you!
What it was used for. I make the case in America. The ayahuasca.
Are you serious?
Which is one of the 2 ingredients.
Are you serious?
The other ingredient is leaves that contain DMT. The ayahuasca vine contains a monoamine oxidase inhibitor.
Went to another channel, so I know it's on your end. Dropping a lot of frames? Really?
DMT to be accessed orally, which produces a rather different journey from
Okay,
the
thanks,
smoke
man.
or vaped DMT trip. It's a much longer journey, it's 4 or 5 hours. It allows you to integrate and to interrelate with the strange landscapes in which you find yourself amongst and the entities that you encounter. I'm not making any claims about the reality status of those entities, but what I am saying and they look exactly like geoglyphs. So I'm beginning to wonder whether these geoglyphs were part of a system of spiritual ideas concerning what happens to us after death and what we need to do in this life to ensure a beneficial outcome. And And oddly enough, that same system of ideas is found in the Mississippi Valley. In the Amazon, it involves particularly ayahuasca and the belief that the ayahuasca journey takes you to the afterlife realm and a journey along the Milky Way. In the Mississippi Valley, the mound builder sites up and down the Mississippi Valley, particularly Moundville in Alabama, exactly the same system of religious ideas associated with geometrical constructions. That on death, the soul, they're very specific, ascends to the constellation of Orion, transits from the constellation of Orion to the Milky Way, makes a journey along the Milky Way, which they call the Path of Souls, and encounters challenges and ordeals where the soul must account for the life that it has lived. Then we go to Egypt, and what do we find? The same system of ideas. The soul must rise up to the constellation of Orion. There's a narrow shaft cut through the southern side of the Great Pyramid of Giza, which targets directly the lowest of the 3 stars of Orion's belt. Widely accepted as a star shaft or a soul shaft. The soul would rise up through that shaft, get to the constellation of Orion, which stands by the banks of the Milky Way, and then transit to the Milky Way, which the ancient Egyptians called the Winding Waterway. And it would make a journey along the Milky Way where it would be confronted by challenges and ordeals. Very similar idea to the Tucano, very similar idea to the Mississippi Valley. As far as we know, none of these cultures were in contact with one another. Either we're dealing with huge, unbelievable, extraordinarily detailed coincidence involving architecture and ideas.
Thank you for coming back. Hope everything's good now. I just lowered the resolution by like 3 times for this video.
And I believe that's
What do we think the people from the
Yo, wonder why your frame's dropping. My computer is got too hot to. I need a new computer. I think it's decided. I really do need a new laptop. I could use Stericycle's laptop, stream through that, but they wouldn't like that very much.
They are definitely not. Of course, there are visionary substances which are used in Native American vision quests. I've had the privilege of peyote with the Native American Church.
Especially when I'm like friggin' like smoking weed and shit. Like they can't
I thought
fucking see that
it
shit.
was amazing. It doesn't overpower you in the way that DMT or ayahuasca does. It's much gentler. It's much more.
Yeah, I gotta buy a new laptop. I have a Surface Pro 3 i5. I think the 4300 processor, right?
It felt just like a very beautiful and healing
It's good, but it only has one USB port.
I'm inside it.
It overheats, and when it overheats, it doesn't turn it off, but it just lowers the processing power. You know what I mean? It's like built into the script of the board, whatever, so it doesn't fry the board. It gets really hot. I need a laptop with more USB ports. And my TV just fried. I have a nice big screen plasma that fried. The board fried. I have a 64-inch plasma. My baby bought in 2014, and the board, the power doesn't work, so I gotta get that repaired.
But it uses austerity, it uses pain to drive an altered state of consciousness. The objective in every case seems
Yeah, I
to be,
bought that in 2014
let's,
for
a while, get ourselves
$1,300.
out of the narrow, rigid frame of the
It's
alert
beautiful though.
consciousness.
It's so like
We all need that. It's incredibly useful.
Plas-
to
like,
gather is
man,
needed just
I think
as
plasma
much as
TVs
people
are still.
in cities
There's probably
need it.
there's probably better ones
It's
out there
not the only
now,
state of
but
consciousness available to human beings.
it's 1080p
Maybe
and
that's
dude,
one of the mistakes.
like just the pastel-y color. You know what I mean? Like the blacks. You know, like the inky black. It's like a painting, like you're in kindergarten again, and there's all this like acrylic paint, and you just take the blue and the black, and the green. I really like plasma TVs. Those are my favorite. All right, I loaded the vape. Let's do it. Oh, I also got my friggin' cup holder, so it's gonna hold it up here, so I don't have to go like, you know what I mean?
One way to get through. And one of the
Yo, Dick,
things
thanks so
about
much for hanging out.
these psychedelic experiences, it really makes ideologies seem, if not preposterous, at the very least insignificant.
Wonder why my frame's dropping? Yeah,
Experiences.
I do need a new computer, but I don't
Camaraderie and
I
friendship
don't want to
and-
spend money.
and love. You realize, like, oh,
I need
this
to
is-
friggin'
This is what
start
this
saving
is what
money.
it's really about.
Yes, not enforcing your ideas or pushing them on other people and forcing people to behave the way you behave, but instead, love.
And think about religious ideas, which cause so much division, so much chaos, so much hatred, so much fear, so much suspicion in the world today. Is it really what we want to do as human beings? Simply to accept a package of ideas that were believed in by our ancestors, to accept them whole without
Alright, let's get
question
some PB for
as
Dick.
absolute fact, which we regard as such authoritative fact that in some cases we're willing to be deeply unpleasant to people who hold different views, or perhaps even kill them. We've had this, this recent event in Sri Lanka, primarily a religiously motivated terrorist event. It happens all over the world. People feel so convinced that the inherited package of ideas that they had nothing to do with creating and that they have never questioned. They're so convinced that those ideas are right that in extreme cases they're actually prepared to kill other human beings who hold different ideas. Are they so insecure in their own beliefs that they're prepared to go to that level of actually murdering another human being who holds it? They're so threatened by the other beliefs that other human beings hold. So it's an abnegation of our responsibility as human beings. We should
I don't even know what's going on.
We should not be accepting packages of ideas intact, fully formed, and using them to drive the way we behave towards one another. That was part of the human story, but we need to move on from that. And it's a very dangerous situation in a very complex modern world with billions of human beings on the planet to have these kind of energies being generated where certain groups of people are saying, we are absolutely right and you are absolutely wrong. We are superior, you are inferior. This is a very, very dangerous path that we're on, and it needs to be changed. Personally, I know this is not a comment that will go down well with many people, but I am strongly opposed to it. I don't see any virtue in nationalism. It is an accident of birth, which nation you were born in. It was nothing that you did for your own merit. You didn't earn that. You were born by accident in a particular nation. Why should we automatically feel that other people who were born by accident in that particular nation have something special in common with us, and that we together are a group who are much more important than other groups of people? I've been privileged to spend my life traveling around the world, living with communities all over the world. One thing that really comes across to me strongly, it should be a cliche, and yet it's not, is that we are all one family, that humans are intimately interconnected all around the world, that you can go to the remotest area of the Amazon jungle and find the same hopes, the same fears, the same dreams that we have in industrialized cities, shared by hunter-gatherers in the Amazon. So our similarities as human beings and what we share in common at the emotional level and the level of love and at the level of heart are far more important than our differences that are defined by the nation or the political group in which we grew up in. When I say I'm against nationalism, I need also to make clear that does not mean, and I hope I'm not taken out of context by others who are listening to this, that does not mean I'm in favor of world government. I detest governments. That's another thing we need to grow out of. We don't need governments anymore. We have a very minimal role in our society. I think it's possible for the human race to
This is a lot of fun,
relate
though.
as one
This is a
family
really fun level,
without
man.
leaders and governments who are exploiting the worst aspects of our character, the lowest common denominator of our society, deliberately encouraging fears and hate. Especially what responsible leaders should be doing is encouraging love and unity. And their failure to do that, in my view, disqualifies them from the leadership role entirely. And that's why I've often said I would like to see a situation in which no head of state can be appointed to that position unless he or she has first had 12 sessions of ayahuasca. That would be the condition. Don't even bother applying for the job. And we have to be, we want to see that you're drinking every drop. And we want an experienced shaman present who's really going to guide you through the journey. And I suspect that that would be a transformative experience for many of our political class. Where they would start to question why they do that, why they exploit fears in order to magnify their own position. They'd
I gotta start looking up a little bit.
Wonder about a different destiny of humanity, but that's a dream. I guess it's not going to happen.
Very, very, very well said, and I couldn't agree more. My hope is that what you were saying and what we were discussing earlier about how the internet has sort of eroded our faith in many institutions as being the only or the primary source of knowledge. I hope that that takes place globally in terms of the way we view government, and that we do, and that your idea of like, I love what America stands for, and what America stands for is kind of a nation that's where people go to. And this is one of the more insidious problems with this idea of building walls and keeping people out, making it incredibly difficult to get here. the reason why I'm here is because it was pretty easy to get here.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
That's the essence of America, a free and open society.
Come here and do better.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea behind it. And I would hope that this idea of being able to just, if you want to be better, you can anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
This could eventually spread out. This is my hope.
I believe it can spread out, and I see many signs in America. America has become a big part of my life, not just because I wrote this book, but because I have children who are now living in America. I have a son who live in LA. I have another son who live in Boston. America, I'm British, but America has become a very central part of my life, and it's a fascinating, amazing country. It's been my privilege to travel thousands of miles across America, across many, many, many different states, and I love this country. It's an amazing place. Only in America could we see happening what has happened with cannabis. The fact that at a local level, individuals have got together, mobilized petitions, organized votes, and changed the law. Changed the law. Literally stuck a finger up at central government and said, fuck off. This is none of your business. What I do with my consciousness in the inner sanctum of my own life is not the business of the state. That's a very American thing. It's something that you don't find often in other countries where the state is granted much more power and much more authority than it perhaps should be. Americans are naturally questioning of government authority, and that is what has led to the increasing legalization of cannabis, which is going to change the world in lots of ways. But then, ironically, at the same time, see, the thing about democracies is that in order to get things done in a democracy, you need to persuade people of your point of view. So information becomes very important in democracies, and information can be abused. People can be misled with information. They can be told that what they're receiving is the truth. It's not the truth. And you can end up with a kind of dictatorship that the people have given their assent to on the basis of false information. And frankly, I'd rather have a real dictatorship, which is out in the open and clear, rather than one that has been subtly manipulated into position through manipulating the views of the voters. But I remain enormously encouraged by America. It may seem like a trivial issue, but the fact that state by state cannabis is being legalized, and that is resulting from a grassroots movement, that this enormous change has been made. Even it's ironic, it's strange that at the federal level, even though 8 states now totally legal for recreational, 24 states legal for medical use, that at the federal level it's still a Schedule 1 controlled drug. This is a huge state of dissonance that exists, and America's going to have to put it right. What it says to me is that people can get together at the local level, and they can get together. It's not about that the cannabis laws were vicious and wrong and cruel and evil and ruined people's lives for decades. And it's people who've changed that. It's not government who's changed that, it's the people at the grassroots level. America's a country where that can happen. And I remain encouraged about the role of the American people, while often in despair about the role of the American state.
Yeah, I'm encouraged as well. I mean, it's interesting, Ben and Jerry did something yesterday, which is really 420, I should say, which was talking about the drug laws in this country and talking about how many, it's really opening this the idea of like how unjust these laws were and how many of these laws target people of color, and how many people who are white people have profited off of this, and how many people are still in jail for crimes that they committed, air quote crimes that are no longer crimes.
That are no longer crimes.
Yeah, and this is ridiculous. These records should be expunged.
They should be completely expunged. I see that California has made some steps in that direction. There has been some expunging of records.
Well, we can only hope that also what opens up next is psilocybin is now going to be on the ballot. And when that opens up, I mean, what you really think marijuana is a gateway drug? Well, guess what? It is. If psilocybin opens up.
Yes.
Psilocybin can legitimately
certainly can.
It really, I think marijuana can change the world, and I really do think that cannabis is changing people's perceptions and making people more calm and friendly, and even what they talk about with paranoia. I welcome that. And the reason why I welcome that is because they're entirely too cocky.
Yeah.
The life we live is bizarre as you could ever imagine in a book, and we're just accustomed to it because it's our day-to-day
Take
existence.
it all for granted. Yeah.
Marijuana removes those blinders.
It does.
And it really makes you understand that this is a strange, strange life. And a lot of these pitfalls and problems that we have in our society are due to fear.
Pretty
and they're
frustrating.
due to ignorance, and they're due to this lack of connection with each other. And cannabis and many of these other psychedelic drugs, they encourage this connection with each other, which is, I think, what we need.
It's certainly what we need. And it's an aberration in human culture that we've created a society that demonizes. It's a relatively recent thing. It's really just the last 100 years. It's a tiny part of the human story, and yet we're so arrogant as a society that we can set aside thousands of years of human tradition and experience and wisdom working with the plant medicine. We just set it aside, turn it into criminal substances, and say we know everything. What a huge and stupid mistake that is. On cannabis as a quote-unquote gateway drug, it absolutely is in this sense that the legalization of cannabis is going to open the door to, as you say, to the legalization of psychedelics, because what's happening is that the population is completely waking up to the fact that they have been bullshitted and lied to about cannabis for the best part of a century. And once that dawns on people, the realization at the direct personal level, here's this herb I love, I have been lied to, systematically misinformed by central government about this herb, that leads to questioning of everything that central government does. And so in that sense, it is a gateway to a questioning society. The psychedelics are different in that psilocybin actually does lead you to question stuff. It leads you to really ask questions about everything, about your role in the world, about you as a person, about how you relate to other people, and about the whole system on this planet and the beautiful, gorgeous planet that we have and what we're doing to it. That also enters awareness. So
it erodes confidence in authority, and it also erodes confidence in authority that doesn't have experiences that you've experienced.
Exactly.
That's the part of the problem, is that these people that are holding people back from these psychedelic experiences, they've never had them.
They've never had
so they
them.
don't even know what they're rallying
They're
against.
coming to it from a place of fear and prejudice. They're simply accepting stuff that they've been told without really thinking it through and examining it. And again, it's a failure of what human beings should be doing. We have to get rid of this fear.
And ironically, it's bad for them as well.
Of
It's
course.
bad for the people that are actually encouraging these laws to be enforced.
It's bad for the whole of society,
Yes.
because it is healthy for a society where adults become self-realized individuals, where they make their own responsible choices about their own lives, where they don't say, "Oh, government must make this choice for me." That's the next step for humanity. We need to start becoming our own leaders and making our own choices, and that is what's being revealed now that we're getting to the skull beneath the smile of the war on drugs. We're realizing that it's part of a big program of lying that has been about keeping people's minds closed down, not wanting free thinking. I've made this point several times, but our society is not against altered states of consciousness as such. Our society will allow Big Pharma to make billions of dollars with drugs that alter consciousness, like Seroxat and antidepressants, which, in my opinion, having had some experience of them, are amongst the most horrible drugs on the planet. They are very harmful, very dangerous drugs, but they're completely legal and they're encouraged with our system. Likewise, alcohol, very dangerous drug, causes fights, causes drug-driving accidents, leads to cirrhosis of the liver, completely legal and open. Our society is not against altered states of consciousness. As such, it's against particular kinds of altered states of consciousness that lead to questioning of the existing control system. That's what's going on.
Here, here. Well said.
And as you know, I have my own story with cannabis.
Yeah, well, you and I had a moment.
We had a moment, which was quite a life-changing moment for me, because if I may just rehearse a little bit of this for the audience. In 2011, I had a series of ayahuasca sessions in which it was shown to me that I was using cannabis completely wrong. that it had become a dominant force in my life, that it was making me, you were speaking about paranoia, and I agree with you, paranoia is a useful thing, if only to overcome it, that it was making me paranoid, that I approached everybody around me in a state of suspicion. And I was shown this by ayahuasca, and given a very strong message: you need to quit.
Alright, what the fuck do I have to do? This is actually pretty good
What I
run.
didn't realize
I gotta
at the
fucking
time
upload
is
this
that
shit,
the problem was not
and I gotta pick up
cannabis.
the other
problem
thing, right?
was
I gotta
me.
upload this. This goes into the disk
Fix
drive.
those aspects of
And then I gotta pick up the
before
tape.
I could have a proper
Okay, here we go.
relationship with cannabis. So
Here we
after that
fucking go.
ayahuasca session, having smoked cannabis for decades, literally 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, I quit. I quit for 3 years. And then I'm on your show, and we're sitting opposite one another as we are now, and you ask me a question, are you still off the cannabis? And I say, well, I'm thinking of dipping my toes back in the water, at which point you produce a joint.
No.
And we smoke it together. First of all, after 3 years, your tolerance is way down on cannabis, so I got really stoned. I did listen to that interview back, and somehow I held it together.
Oh, you held it together brilliantly. You opened up, and there was like a wave of information pouring out. It was wonderful.
It was a liberation for me, and what it said to me is, it's time to go I need a different relationship with this amazing medicine. And if I can forge that, if I can make that different relationship happen, then it can be a constructive and positive part of my life. And I can say definitely that has been the case. And
That's excellent.
And so it's all thanks to you, Joe. I probably would still be off cannabis if it hadn't been for that, Joe.
People can develop these patterns of behavior that are destructive within, whether it's with alcohol, sex.
Ah, I didn't have enough health. Use the nade? Did I have one? I was going to.
You are on a bad mental path.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't have enough health though. It's a pretty fast run though, eh? Thanks, man. Thanks for watching, homie.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
the
even
thing is,
like
we as adult human beings need to take responsibility for our own lives and our own decisions. We need not hand that responsibility to governmental institutions, especially.
I was thinking that I didn't know if I had the need or not. I guess I should have checked.
And my view is the ancient world had the right attitude to this kind of thing. And the modern world does not.
I can go for sub 2? You're kidding me, homie. Come on.
A lot of
Let's
people ask me,
friggin'.
You know, Hancock, you've been arguing that there's been a lost civilization in the human story. But what sort of civilization do you think it was? Well, one of the things I think is that it was a civilization. I think it was a civilization that emerged.
It's cake, ha ha ha.
That did not.
Ha ha ha, funny.
But that took the essence of shamanism and integrated it into a very different kind of civilization from our own, which pursued things in different ways. A lot of archaeologists have said to me, look, we don't find any plastic bottles from the Ice Age. That means there was no advanced civilization during the Ice Age. Maybe an advanced civilization might have decided never to get involved in plastic in the first place.
I completely
Maybe
forgot he
it would have
pulled
been a
it.
clear choice not to make plastic. Maybe they did things in completely different ways. Maybe they cultivated powers of the human mind that we dismiss and regard as completely unimportant. You know.
Yeah, this is their thoughts about Egypt, correct?
It's about Egypt and about other things. I mean, the specific example I give is above the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid are 5 further chambers.
No, I shot the wrong console there. I did it all wrong.
With granite beams.
I did it all wrong there at the end.
About 70 tons. And there are hundreds of them. These 70-ton granite beams, which to put in context, a 70-ton beam is equivalent in weight to 25 large SUVs. These 70-ton granite beams have been elevated to a height of more than 350 feet above the ground and carefully and precisely placed in position.
You use a slow aim up when shooting guards. Makes kills way easier on 00. Yeah, that's a great. No, it's a good point. I do have to start looking up more.
You
I
can
do.
say, oh, perhaps they built a ramp and haul
Especially this guy like that.
Then you have to confront basic laws of physics. You can't haul a stone weighing tens of tons.
I'm just trying to
up a
max
slope
my
that
health here
exceeds
because
10
when
degrees.
my
Then you start
PB
doing
when I YOLO'd it,
calculation.
I had friggin' full health, right? And I just barely survived. I had full health and full body armor. I'm on that YOLO
And
run.
the answer is you need a fucking long ramp, which should still be there because it couldn't have been a sand ramp. I would have collapsed under the weight of those stones. It had to be
Whatever.
as massive as the pyramid
Take it.
itself. So this begins
Wow.
to seem like an absurd idea. The idea that's voiced by archaeologists psychology. Maybe the idea that they regard as absurd, namely that psychic powers were cultivated by ancient civilizations, and they could use powers of the human mind that we have allowed to lapse. Maybe that idea deserves further consideration. We have gone down a path of leveraging powerful advantage we're used to relying on machines, but we hear anecdotal reports of people who have telekinetic powers, who move things with their minds, of people who have telepathic powers, and our automatic reaction is to just dismiss all
On the bridge side box, guys, you're safe there. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm just trying to go. I'm trying to kill the guy on the right and just go and leave the guy on the left. But I missed the guy on the right there. That's why I was getting shot up, I guess. I guess I'm trying to use that pillar to block the other guy from me. But you know what I mean? That's the plan. I ran out of bullets though. I didn't pick him up on the way there. I thought I'd pick them up on my strafe, but apparently I didn't.
But it's curious.
The guards are too far away.
It's absolute that they did something that we don't understand.
Thanks, man.
If you think about the distance between us.
I really am going to try. I mean, it is clear. I mean, like YOLOing everything pretty much. Not everything, but like.
5,000 years ago, or close to 5,000.
But would it be better if I could run, if I could walk forward and see up that first door? You know what I mean?
Someone back then.
I lose like a lot of time, like 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that somehow or another they figured this out. It's almost like what they had done was leave behind something that was so stupendous, so monstrous.
Yeah, I didn't always know that though about the bridge though, dude.
Transcend time. You have to look at it even thousands and thousands of years later and say,
where's the grenade?
This defies conventional explanation. This is not a simple, and I've seen some of the conventional explanations of the construction of the pyramid, and they conveniently neglect those chambers above the king's chamber.
They do.
They conveniently neglect a lot of those massive stones. And it's because it's one of those things you just go, oh, I don't know. What is this, Jamie?
Should go for the guard lure at the first door and try to hit the far guard from the door too. Yeah, for sure, man.
That have been raised 350 feet above the ground, and not only that, but brought from Aswan.
That's a really good point,
in
man.
the south of Egypt, 500 kilometers south of the Great Pyramid. So
if there's any time in history we could go in a time machine,
like shoot the hall guard through the opening door. Right? Yeah, for sure.
If you had one shot
Totally,
to
man.
go back and see what it was like in some place, you wouldn't go to the construction of the Great Pyramid?
For sure, homie.
I think right now where I goes 12,800 years ago in the beginning of the Younger Dryas.
Just to see.
Because I think that's where the whole human story changes. I think that's where we change tracks from one path to
For
another
sure,
path.
let's
And
go.
following those
Let's get a
cataclysmic
PV
events
for
of the
Farm
Younger
Boy.
Dryas between 12,800 and 11,600 years ago. Following those, the signs of civilization that we see emerging are not the beginnings of civilization. They're a restarting of civilization that existed before the cataclysm. And for that reason, I would like to be present during that cataclysmic event, if only to satisfy myself that it was indeed a comet. You see, the one thing there's no dispute about anymore.
Have you made it back
is
to the
that
vents
Younger
this
Dryas
session?
was a cataclysm. You can't
Just
argue
the once,
megafauna
just that one
that's,
time.
that die off, the disruption of human activity that takes place at that time, human climate change. This
Because
was
I'm quitting out a lot. Like I'm
where
going
the
pretty
argument still
fast, you
goes
know.
on is what caused it. What caused
That's
it.
why, like,
I vote strongly
I got excited
for
when I got there
comets,
because I was like, it was
multiple
actually pretty
fragments of
fast,
a comet
right?
hitting the
Like
North
I'm not
American
taking
ice
it
cap
easy
and
this time,
hitting
so I'm
Greenland
pausing out a lot, you
as
know.
well. But there are other
I hope
researchers in the
you're
field like
okay with that. A lot of failure in the
thinks
stream.
that the sun is more involved. This is healthy. This is very, very healthy.
This is healthy.
We
It's
should be
healthy. A
approaching
lot of
this
failure is
problem
healthy.
from many different perspectives and trying to figure out what the fuck caused this extraordinary event that occurs at a pivotal moment in the human story. The end of the Stone Age, the beginning of the Mesolithic, the end of the Ice Age, the beginning of the current age of the Earth. And suddenly we see these signs of civilization appearing in places like the Great Pyramid. Those signs already include highly sophisticated men. That's why I feel we really need to investigate the Amazon. There are 3 places in the world which are really lacking in the investigation. One of them is the Amazon, 5.5 million square kilometers, very little archaeology done. Another is the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert tough place to work. I can understand why there's little archaeology done there. But the Sahara Desert was green during the Ice Age. It had a completely different climate regime. We should consider the possibility that missing parts of the human story are there. And then under the continental shelves, because sea level rose 400 feet. These are 3 domains that archaeology has largely not investigated. And it has largely not done so. They say, well, why would we spend the money on marine archaeology? Much better to spend it on looking for shipwrecks rather than looking for signs of a lost civilization, because we archaeologists know there was no lost civilization. So that's the argument for the resources there. And the same with the Amazon and the Sahara Desert. Places, the very places in the world that those amongst us who are charged with the responsibility of interpreting the past have not looked at are the very places we should be looking at.
I had a thought once while I was and it was a thought that one day computational powers will reach a point where they will be able to take into consideration all of the objects on Earth and what we know about the history and vividly recreate the past through computation, to the point where you could actually know who did what, when people did things, and that, I mean, I don't even know if this would be physical. Today, certainly not be possible, but with the exponential increase in computational power and technology and innovation, that one day will reach a point where you'll be able to watch, you'll be able to see what happened, and they'll be able to recreate what happened.
What?
Exactly. And that this will
What
be
the heck?
something it's impossible
Get used to
for us
doing it.
Imagine that someone would be able to do that right now.
Yeah.
But that one day with technology.
Get used to doing the aim up shots. It's a game changer. It's on every level, and especially 00. Yeah, for sure, man. That's really good.
That will allow us to go back
Sure,
and
dude.
see. Literally
I gotta work on that for
what
sure.
happened, how things were done.
Technology is changing our understanding of what you're envisaging. We will come to a time, if we
100
don't,
years, 500
perhaps
years.
less, if we don't, first destroy ourselves entirely as a civilization, we will come to a time where our cleverness and our techniques will allow a much wider opening of the past than has presently happened. But it is already happening. One of the areas of science that I go into in America before is genetics and DNA. This is an area of science that was not much informing archaeology.
Wow, I got so lucky there. See how lucky I got?
Since the 2000s has become very important because the technology has developed where ancient DNA can be extracted and tested, and you can actually genotype an entire individual from DNA.
It comes automatic after a bit, and guards passing almost twice as fast. Yeah, for sure, dude.
Technology of genome sequencing. And
Really good point, man.
Is another factor that is raising huge question marks over the past of the Americans. And one of the issues I go into in this book is the presence in the Amazon rainforest of a very specific, clearly identifiable pattern of DNA, which is only found in one other place in the world, and that is in Australasia, in Papua New Guinea, and amongst Australian Aborigines. It's Australasian DNA. Now,
in South America.
Not only in South America,
Helps on all the guards in this level.
Of the Amazon rainforest.
Especially the door guards. Handicap the obvious over here. No, for sure, you're right, man. For sure. No, you're totally right, man. I totally appreciate any help, dude.
Are rare. It has been found in ancient skeletal remains that are close to 11,000 years old in the Amazon. So that tells us that this DNA signal has been in the Amazon for at least 11,000 years. The geneticists think that it came to the Amazon during the last ice age. And this raises a huge mystery, because the people in the Americas is supposed to have occurred from Siberia, across the Bering Straits, down through that ice-free corridor into North America, down through North America, into South America, into Central America, and finally into South America. If that was the whole story, then we would find this DNA signal in North America and in Central America. We would not find it only in the Amazon. When I talked to some of the leading geneticists about this, but specifically Professor S.K. Willislev at the University of Copenhagen, who's been the lead author in a number of major studies of ancient DNA, and I asked him, what do you make of this Australasian DNA in the Amazon? And he said, honestly, We don't have a proper explanation for it at the moment. But what he did say is that the most parsimonious explanation, he used that specific word, the most parsimonious explanation was that a group of people during the Ice Age crossed the Pacific Ocean and settled up and ended up in South America and settled in the Amazon and brought their DNA with them. That would account perfectly for the DNA data. And when a scientist says the most parsimonious explanation, what that scientist is saying is he likes that explanation. That it's a simple, direct, clear explanation of the DNA mystery. But then he added, however, it doesn't make practical sense. And I asked him, well, why doesn't it make practical sense? And he said, because the archaeologists tell me that no human population was capable of crossing the Pacific Ocean during the Ice Age, at which point it was natural for me to say, do you really trust the archaeologists? And he said, well, in science, we do trust the work of other scientists. We don't really question it. We don't really investigate it. That's their side of the business. And my view is that is rather than taking this weird, anomalous Australasian DNA signal in the heart of the Amazon as something to be explained away, as something to be for it to be denied that it could be connected to a voyage across the Pacific Ocean. Maybe it's the first compelling evidence that voyages were taking place across the Pacific Ocean during the Ice Age. And maybe we should be opening up that whole issue for exploration. And again, I think a lost civilization is the best answer. And that near the end of the Ice Age, when the Younger Dryas cataclysm unfolds, it's not an overnight thing. It's very bad 12,800 years ago. There's about 1,200 years ago. I don't think the civilization went down in a single day and night. I think there were survivors. I think bits of it were left. I think their project was to restart civilization. And I suggest very strongly that where they tried to mount that project was amongst the hunter-gatherers who coexisted in the world with them at that time. We ourselves are an advanced civilization. At least that's what we call ourselves. And we coexist in the world with hunter-gatherers. It's not an odd idea that an advanced civilization and hunter-gatherers should coexist, and there is separation between us and the Amazonian hunter-gatherers that are uncontacted and that we don't know even exist. If catastrophe on the level of the Younger Dryas were to occur today, I don't think that our civilization would make it through. We are the spoilt children. We are just used to having everything laid on. You know, the supermarket shelves are groaning with food. We can get food delivered to our homes. We have roofs over our head. We have shelters. We have clothing. Everything's taken for granted. I guess you're an exception, but very few people in modern Western culture know how to survive. They don't have survival skills. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to gather. They don't know how to grow crops because they've handed that responsibility over to others. We live in a society that's highly segmented and specialized, and different people specialize in different things, but nobody has the vast general survival skill that a hunter-gatherer has. So in a global cataclysm, actually, at first counterintuitively, the people who would survive it would be the hunter-gatherers. And an advanced civilization would be smart, if they were survivors, to seek refuge amongst hunter-gatherers, to make that the place where they might try to restart their civilization. And that's why I think that this Australasian DNA signal in the Amazon may be evidence for a sort of outreach effort that was being made by a lost civilization, seeing the disaster coming down on it and realizing that something needed to be done.
Well, it's fascinating to me that the geneticists would rely on the archaeologists, being that the geneticists have the actual DNA they can examine, where the archaeologists are piecing things together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little tiny bits of information over the entire landscape. Yeah. So how much information they don't have access to that's in the ground. There's so much.
I strongly resist the idea that archaeology is a science. I don't think it should be. It's more like a kind of philosophy. It's an attempt to interpret the past based on rather flimsy and limited evidence. And what you find in that interpretation is
shooting the natives is good luck. Yeah, I hope so. Let's go, man. I think it's called bad aim.
Support their preconceptions, and that's not a scientific way of doing it. It's a scientific way of doing it. seeking to falsify them and seeing if they work out.
So the problem is drawing these conclusions.
I am
and
trying to go
being too
as
rigid
fast
with
as I
these
can go
conclusions
while
further
keeping the
evidence.
most amount of
That's
health.
my view.
Yeah.
I know it sounds obvious, but like
archaeology has been much too rigid. And
important to
there's a
differentiate
kind
the
of
strats
fear
being
in
used. Right?
archaeology. I don't mean to pick particularly on archaeologists here. I think this is generally true across other disciplines as well.
I gotta aim higher on that. I gotta shoot it. I
These
gotta
days
do the headshot
academics
for
are
the
driven
friggin'
by
box
the need
guard
to
too.
publish research papers. That's what they build their careers on. If they can get a paper on their bit of research published in Nature or the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, etc., that's good for their careers. But then you confront the gatekeepers in those papers.
Wow.
And guard any archaeological idea that is not part of the mainstream
Those
accepted consensus
aim
with
up
great suspicion
shots.
and are most
You'll also avoid hitting the guard's guns, and
to-
once you get used to it, you're kind of guard's times in half. Yeah, no, for sure, man. You're totally
Now,
right, dude.
what is the mainstream? When
You
archaeologists
are
talk about
100% right.
seafaring humans, what do they date that to?
Well, there's the great,
Polynesians.
yes,
sure,
the
man.
great seafaring adventure that is accepted by archaeology is called the Polynesian expansion, and it's a remarkable story, and that occurs roughly 3,000 to 3,500 years ago. And those Polynesians were amazing ocean navigators. They could cross distances of thousands of kilometers with pinpoint accuracy. I mean, it's not an accident that the Polynesians found Easter Island. Finding Easter Island is a really challenging project. Easter Island is 2,000 miles from the coast of South America. It's 2,000 miles from the nearest other island, which is it's just a little speck in the middle of the ocean when the Polynesians found it and settled there, and appeared to have brought a reproductively viable population there, and appear to have made voyages back and forth. But that was 3,000 years ago. That was not 12 months later. This is where archaeologists have a position that ocean voyaging was begun by the Polynesians. There was no major ocean voyages before that. I think it needs to be strongly questioned, and it needs to be strongly questioned in the light of this DNA evidence from the Amazon, rather than rejecting the evidence.
Oh my god, whatever.
Well, it's interesting because we know that the Egyptians had boats.
Yeah.
And so, if there were boats 4,500 years ago, why do we think that they didn't try them out in the ocean? That doesn't make
How
any
slow
sense.
his balls
especially if they
anyway.
existed 1,000 years prior, which is also possible.
Archaeologists wouldn't argue that the Egyptians had boats, but
I was
that
not
is
patient
still
at all that
within
time.
The framework of accepted history. It's the notion of a global navigating culture in the ice age that archaeologists can't swallow. It's a subject that I've kept on coming up against over a number of years. I think the best evidence for it is ancient maps, which show the world as it looked during the ice
How is he
age.
still alive?
I first explored this in Fingerprints of the Gods, and I've touched on the mystery again, and I have an appendix on the subject in this book, because I think these are very important. We're talking about maps that were drawn roughly
Yeah, that might actually be worth it.
1300 and the 1700s.
Whatever, that is like 10 seconds or
In
whatever.
other words, in relatively recent history. However, these maps were largely based on much older source maps, which
Too many bullets.
and we can say that for sure because one of the famous maps is the Piri-Reis map, which was created by a Turkish.
Are you serious? Can't be serious.
Actually, only a corner of this map has survived. It was originally a world map. We now just have a bit that shows the east coast of South America and North America and the west coast of Africa. Piri-Reis writes in that map that it is in his own handwriting that he based it on more than 100 older source maps, some of which had come
I guess I'm spoiling
from
my
the
JP
Library
card
of
auto aim.
Alexandria. In other words, that maps
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Alexandria had been destroyed in the 4th century AD.
I've never played the Japanese one.
Some of its contents had been rescued and brought to Constantinople, which became the Turkish capital. And Piri-Reis had access to those maps, and he incorporated information from those maps on his maps, as well as incorporating more recent navigational information. And this is one of a whole category of maps, which are extremely hard to explain.
I didn't draw the other guard.
Based on older source
I didn't
maps
shoot him in the right
and
place on that door, I
all of
think.
them incorporating extremely
I guess I
precise relative
the other thing is to shoot twice on that console up on top
Latitude is
right.
not that difficult to
Because you
calculate.
want to draw the other guard
But
behind,
longitude is
not just
the
the stuck guy, you know what I mean?
difficult feat. Longitude involves a
Obvi.
chronometer. It involves knowing the time and location
Hell,
again
man.
with the age and local moon as well, and calculating the difference between them. You need a chronometer that will keep accurate time at sea with the motions of a ship, and it's just a plain fact that our civilization did not invent such a chronometer
until the late 18th century. Before that, we didn't know what longitude we were at, and ships were constantly sailing unexpectedly into coastlines that they thought were hundreds of miles further away. So the discovery of the technique to do longitude was a major civilizational advance. Its presence in maps, based on much older source maps that actually show the world as it looks during the last ice age, suggests that somebody during the last ice age was mapping the world and had mastered the technique of calculating longitude. Classic example of these maps, and I make a point of this, is what's called the Pinkerton World Map, which was drawn in the year 1818, and it was based on the latest navigational information in the book. What's missing from the map, entirely missing, is Antarctica. There's just a hole at the bottom of the world. There's nothing there. And the reason there's nothing there, there's another Pinkerton map that shows that. The reason that you need to find one that's centered on Antarctica. The reason that Antarctica is not there is that our civilization hadn't discovered Antarctica in 1818. So they put it on a map in 1818. Actually, we discovered it in 1890, and that's when it starts appearing on modern maps. The problem is that Antarctica appears repeatedly on these much older maps, and it appears in the right place, and a bit bigger than it is today, but very much as it looked during the last ice age. So what all of this suggests to me is that the world was mapped by a global seafaring culture with a level of technology that was at least equivalent to ours at the end of the 18th century, during the ice age.
Wasn't there also a map of Greenland that showed it on the map?
Yes, there are, and another intriguing thing. I mentioned the Piri-Reis map just now. Shown on the Piri-Reis map, lying off the east coast of North America, is a large island with a row of megaliths, like a road of megaliths, running up the middle of it.
Healthy. I'm healthy? Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna move this away because I got a friggin'...
Yeah, it is. But can I point it out to you because
sure.
it's there.
That's right.
Okay. It's great that you can read this. So this island is sitting there off the southeast coast of North America.
Look at the way they used to draw things back then too.
And what you see running down the middle is this road-like feature of megaliths.
Yes, I see right there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was a long period of my life when I did a lot of scuba diving, and I was looking at underwater structures. And one of the sites I dived on was the Bimini Road, which is in the Grand Bahama Banks. And the Bimini Road is exactly where the island is. And here's the issue. I don't care whether the Bimini Road is natural or man-made. For me, the mystery is that it's shown above water on that map. And the last time it was above water was thousands and thousands of years ago. So for me, this is all evidence that we should
finish for practice.
That our ancestors had achieved a level could explore and map the world's oceans. We shouldn't.
Am I playing with no music on? Have I been playing without music this entire time?
Or how they were created, but boy, do they look artificial.
That's Yonaguni and
Yeah, I've been playing no music, eh?
Go back to that image, Jimmy, the last image that we were just looking at. It looks so
and you can
see
see
the
that
music.
it's rather like the pattern that's shown on the island in the map.
How deep is that?
Why was I doing
It's not
that?
very deep. It's about 20 feet.
But we think that was above water. At some point.
It was definitely above water during the last ice age. When it finally went underwater, may have been as late as 800 years ago.
Is there anything else compelling that's in
Well,
the
I
area
got the sound
that seems to
figured out
indicate
finally.
Some sort of a man-made structure.
Well, nobody's looked for it. And the whole effort of archaeology has been to dismiss the significance of the Bimini Road.
How would they dismiss that?
Well, they say it's just a...
Always try to finish a run if I miss glass. Less choking on real runs. Yo, that's actually a really good call, man.
This is the argument. Go back to that image that we just saw.
Yeah.
But are you sure?
As somebody who spent a lot of time...
Sorry, I just turned up the volume.
I can tell you,
Didn't have
I
to turn it down
absolutely
again,
do
I
not
think.
think it's natural. I think it's a man-made structure, but the argument is that it's a kind of beach rock that forms in these blocky formations.
Does it? Is that
Yes, beach
No,
rock does form in blocky formations.
So
But
Graham
here I
Hancock, he
believe
talks
that
a lot
the
of
beach rock
bogus
has
stuff
been
here
used as
now.
construction material.
I don't believe
But
what he's talking about
repeat,
were made by humans
the issue is not
at all. I think it was
whether
natural.
the road is man-made or not. The
Oh,
key
really?
issue
Okay.
is that it features on a map above water.
Ah, I
It's a
understand now.
dating project. That tells us that somebody was mapping that bit of the world
when it was above water. And
Jimmy,
that
go back to that.
takes us back a long way into the past. That's a stunning place. It's an amazing sight.
Just like the odds of that being in that order with those uniformly sized rocks for how long is that?
Oh, hundreds of feet. It's a huge shape. It's actually shaped like the letter J. It's a giant underwater structure. Really an enormous thing. Very, very beautiful diagonal. And there's lots of very gentle, sweet nurse shots.
So that looks much more like random.
That's more random, and bits of it do look more random, and bits of it look highly constructed. I would not seek to claim that the Bimini Road is absolutely random. My claim about the Bimini Road is it's really fucking weird that it appears on a map above water,
Yes.
a map that was drawn in 1513 based on older source maps.
Now, when they found that ancient Greek computer thing, what is that
The
called?
anti-interferer mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, that testifies to a lost navigational skill that we have not taken account of.
Incredibly complex,
Yeah.
and it took a long time for them to figure out what that was.
Ah, fuck off.
It tracks the movements of the planets. It's a navigational device.
Joe Rogan
It's,
doesn't push back
it-
enough. He's just like, interesting,
called
Danny.
System
Google
that
Pro
allows you to track the
proto
passage of time and
fascist.
figure out where
Wow.
you are. It's some kind of navigational device
I-
that's not fully understood.
And how old is that?
Don't know any
I think that goes back to
proto-fascists.
Greek times.
Ever on his
I'm
show? I don't know
guessing
if you know
Greek
of any,
times are not of great interest
I don't
to
know.
me, but I'm thinking around about 500.
but I know what you mean.
So, at least 2000 plus, and we know that there have been more than one of these things.
Yes, you can't have something like that without a vast effort behind it. Human beings were working on creating this geared and cogged machinery that reflected the patterns.
Oh, is that a recreation of it?
That's a recreation.
Can you buy one of those? Seriously, buy it.
No,
Dude, buy
really?
Mark that. We need one right there, right next to the plastic cells.
So such a thing is a cultural artifact which doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It has to have a context. It has to have a background. And again, my suggestion would be perhaps a secret technology.
Fine.
It's very odd that very few of these have been found, and it may be that ship owners and navigators in Greek times were extremely careful about who they shared this technology with.
Oh no, did I mess it up?
It may have been as top secret.
Is it over?
as
No,
nuclear
it's not.
power is in our world today. But the fact is that then we have to.
Looks so right wingers anyways. No, I'm just kidding, man. I don't know.
And then we must consider.
I know what you mean though. Let's see how he does on Spotify, right?
Is that just the latest manifestation
If
of
I'm gonna have to watch,
something
dude, I don't know. I don't have a Spotify account, right? I'm gonna have to friggin'
I think that is. I suppose my
watch
main message is that
bootleg
we
on
have
YouTube. If
a
and
so
they're
far
probably not even
untold
gonna let
backstory
anything on
that we're
YouTube at all.
concentrating entirely on the front story, and the backstory
You know, like
is missing, very largely missing from the picture. And what
it's
I
over.
try
He
to do
sold
is
out,
fill in
man.
bits
He
of
sold
backstory.
out to all of
Do you
us.
have anything
All
in
right.
this book about the
What do I need? I need to just pause back. Here we go.
I mentioned them briefly. I explored the Olmec mystery in considerable depth
Can you explain that to people that maybe
in Fingerprints of the Gods. Yes, so it's considered to be the earliest high culture of Central America. Everybody's
Okay,
heard
I'm
about
gonna
the Aztecs,
friggin' have to focus, I think,
everybody's
my man.
heard about the Maya. But before the Aztecs and before
I wouldn't
the
worry
Maya,
about lining
there
up the
were a
glass so
culture
much. Just make
who
sure you're
are
up against the
referred to
nearest.
as the
Nice.
Olmecs.
All right, here we go.
Again, we don't know what they called themselves. That's what the Aztecs called them. They called them the Olmecs. It means the rubber people because the rubber producing area of Mexico. They worked in giant megalithic constructions. That what they're most famous for is these huge carved human heads, which can be on a scale of up to 20 to 25 tons in weight, and which have curious features which have been interpreted variously as Polynesian, African, don't look like classic Native American features. But one of the things I've realized is that there is no classic Native American feature. That Native Americans are very complex genetic history with very many different elements brought into it, and we shouldn't be necessarily surprised by the supposedly non-Native American look of these ornaments.
What do we think they
nobody knows, because no physical example of such a helmet has ever been found, just like no physical example of an Egyptian pharaoh's crown has ever been found. All we see is the stone reproduction.
Do I have full fucking health on the left? This is it, man. Nice, yo, this is it, dude. Oh my god, the clutch, or am I gonna friggin' fail? Are you serious? I can't believe you're here watching this, farm boy. Thanks, man. Yeah, that line up on the crack. Yeah, I spent too much time there, I think. Spawn is only so big. Here we go. I'm gonna YOLO it. I gotta YOLO it. Right? This one, right? This one, right?
Who is associated, for example, with the famous
okay, here we go.
pyramid of Kukulkan.
Can be cruel, but you look alright. Yeah, here we go.
Where on the spring equinox a shadow effect creates the...
I'm gonna move this. I move the mic. I gotta move the mic. I gotta focus.
Stairway and joining with the
Farmwood, that was thanks, man. Thanks for the tips, homie. You kidding me?
From Leventa. That's the earliest image of a plumed serpent in the Americas. And sitting in the middle of it, and I made a big deal out of this because I think it is a big deal in Magicians of the Gods. Sitting in the middle of it is this human figure who's holding this strange and just a those identical balance
I went wide. I saw the glass didn't break. I didn't want to risk getting stuck in the glass. God damn it.
And in that case,
what was the time? What was the time?
So I wonder if we're looking at a sort of badge of office of
around the glass. Well, I didn't want to get stuck on the glass.
Bring back to life a lost civilization and pass down.
That would have been, yeah, that's okay. It wouldn't have been sub 3, obviously not sub 3 minutes. Good call though. It didn't break. Yeah, but then I also wasn't there, right? It's also catch-22. If I'm not there, then it wouldn't break. Because they're not shooting at it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yo, thanks, man. Thanks for. All right, so we know just all right, here we go. I went around the glass. I think I should just go to the glass. I think, man. That was probably it.
He's a clever man, and one of his concepts that he's introduced into human culture is the concept of the moon.
I think I just got to go through the glass. I just got to do it. You know?
Genes are physical reproductive mechanisms. They reproduce themselves.
Yo, I hit that guy like twice.
They multiply. They're passed on from one individual to another. Memes are cultural objects, cultural ideas that are passed on and replicate and reproduce themselves. And what I see right across the Americas and right across the old world is a set of moves that involve
I suck.
that involve geometry.
Like, I need to freaking go faster than that.
And I think the only way to explain this,
I just go for looking good though, PB incoming? Yo, I hope so, man. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate the help. Alright. I think I should just go through the glass. Just that's it. I have lost runs though, like that. The glass not breaking. I'm sure you have too, you know.
Huge geometrical structures. You are also facilitating many other possibilities that an organized population allows. I think that's what happened at Göbekli Tepe. I think that's why they created the megalithic sanctuary, to mobilize the local population of hunter-gatherers and give them a project to engage them, and in the process of engaging them, to teach them the skills of agriculture, which are fundamental to any concept of civilization. And it's weird the way agriculture just suddenly appears in Göbekli Tepe. And there's huge agricultural mysteries in the Amazon as well. May I share?
Before you do that, though, can you pull up that
image? Got grenade. That's good news.
Pillar 43 in enclosure B.
I'd like to see that
and it's the bags are in a row along the top of the pillar.
Are you serious?
Pillar 43 in enclosure B.
Is there an image of that online?
So that running guard, he's not going to start shooting until that door's open. I'm just like, obviously I should have known that, but it's clear I didn't. So I should really go after that friggin' box guard first.
No, you have to go above that one. Just a little bit higher up. No, right at the top there. It's odd that this symbol crops up in many different cultures and tends to be associated with
what's the mainstream interpretation?
There is no mainstream interpretation. That's my interpretation. Which I freely freely confess, that's how I read them. I'm intrigued by the anomaly that the similar bagging turns up in the hands of the Quetzalcoatl figure and turns up in Mesopotamia repeatedly in the hands of the individuals who are called the Apkalu, the magicians of the gods, the bringers of civilization.
And the plume serpent, Quetzalcoatl was an Aztec god, right?
Quetzalcoatl is an Aztec god, but the Aztecs acquired him from earlier cultures. The very fact that an image of the plumed serpent is given such priority in Olmec culture tells us that that system of ideas was present during Olmec time, which takes us back at least to 1500 BC, probably quite a bit earlier than that, whereas the Aztecs are 1500 AD, so there's 3,000 years between the Aztecs and the Olmecs, and that same system of ideas is running through all of them.
And the Mayans had a name for it as well?
Kukulkan.
What do you think that plume serpent was?
I think it's very clear from the accounts that have survived that what he's associated with are two things in particular. One of them, he is a god of peace. He's not a war god. And the other thing
Fuck off.
is giving the gifts of civilization. This is what human beings need to know in order to move on to the next level. That is the function and the role of Quetzalcoatl. And there are very similar, we refer to them as civilizing heroes, who are found in other cultures and other locations. Osiris in Egypt plays that role as a bringer of civilization. There's hardly a culture in the ancient world that doesn't remember a time far back in remote prehistory when some kind of supernaturals or advanced human beings, and I prefer the latter, that some kind of advanced human beings were involved in a project to disseminate civilization. I mentioned the Tucano in the Amazon, who are big drinkers.
Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Whatever. I pushed C right while I was aiming. That wasn't very fast though.
Who included the daughter of the sun and an individual called the helmsman, who steered the serpent canoe in which the second mission in the Amazon was performed. And what these so-called supernaturals did was they brought the ancestors of the Tucano to the Amazon and they showed them the best places to settle, the best places where they might find hunting, the best places where they might create a village, the best places for agriculture. And then they left. But they left them behind one gift. That gift was ayahuasca. That's the story, the origin of the Tucano. And it sounds to me rather like the other side of the story of that DNA signal in the Amazon, that a group of people were deliberately settled in the Amazon by human beings who they chose to regard as supernatural.
Really? He can shoot through his own guy? Really? It's a harsh mistress, yeah.
I'm in California, I've been smoking lots of dope. You know.
I don't know, man. I honestly don't know if I'm gonna PB now. I could, like, if I'm gonna play for the next, like, hour, like, 2 or 3, I probably could, but I might play for another, I don't know, half an hour, maybe.
I have another question.
To be honest, yo, I appreciate you being here, man, homie. Like, I appreciate it big time.
Live in Native Americans, that they vary widely. But the Olmecs seem to have very similar...
You're the gentleman from Gatineau, right?
Why do we think...
You're from Gatineau, right, Farnroy?
This is part of a
I went to Gatineau Park
last
couple days ago.
It's been known by
nice.
archaeologists for quite a long time that there are anomalous skulls in parts of Brazil which appear to show...
yeah, they were taking people in Chelsea because of the COVID. They gave a lot of tickets to people in Chelsea, man.
And the number of archaeologists who got into trouble with their
at the bars there, you know.
I've used that to argue many years ago, 30 or 40 years ago, that the settlement story of the Americas is much more complicated than we've realized.
Yeah.
And
is drone footage up yet?
The DNA
oh, of the Gatineau? Oh, I haven't. No, I'm sorry, my man. I haven't put that up yet.
You see,
I will be honest. I didn't upload it yet, man.
Looking skulls was that they
I can upload though. I can plan to do that. I just didn't know if it's legal or not to fly it there, because I know there's an airport right next nearby.
What that DNA showed was that they were more closely
all good, yeah, like
modern Native Americans than
I'm
there
not
are
sure if I'm
in
legally
the
able to.
world. So the notion that there was some connection with Polynesia or Africa was dismissed. But now
Do I
that
have it
we
on the computer?
very
I might have it
firm
on the computer. I could probably
of
pull it
an
up
Australasian genetic
right
signal
now. I don't mind showing it around here,
Aborigines,
but I mean, I
Guinea,
don't want to put it on
Melanesians,
YouTube.
with those kind of features. Now that we have the genetic evidence,
I can pull it up
that is
here
in our
after.
hands, and we have to go back to that old
I missed the
evidence.
fall there. So freaking beautiful. Oh yeah, no, I didn't film it in the fall. I filmed it in the summer. The video I have.
They've always fascinated me. The Olmecs, it's always been such a strange image.
Oh, that was perfect.
So large.
It was amazing.
Green helmets on them. And how did they?
Oh, that's because it's freaking Agent.
I mean,
All of the features are very, very similar. They're very similar.
always with the helmets.
And almost always, I won't claim that every single Olmec head has a helmet on it, because I think I've seen one that didn't. It's quite a while ago since I explored the Olmec area. But what's fascinating about them is they are supposedly the first high civilization of Central America. They create structures on a massive scale that you can see connections between them and the later Maya. That whole mystery of the Mayan calendar was clearly inherited from the Olmecs. It wasn't something the Maya made up. The Olmecs used that same symbolism. So the Mayan calendar is actually an Olmec calendar. And if we then consider the possibility that the Olmecs may just be the latest, the earliest surviving manifestation, much further than that.
I gotta friggin' work on that
Having any
box guard.
debates with people that pose these ideas.
Well, it was interesting on.
I think it's gonna
your
take another
show
stream, man. Another stream to get a PB
to
on
have
this, I
the
think.
debate that involved Michael Sherman, who's the editor of the Skeptic magazine, and some colleague of his.
The question of the glass, right? Should I have ran through the glass?
Annoyed with, and
Yes or no?
myself.
Will we ever find out? We will never find out.
Genius radicals. I felt that was a very useful debate. I felt that it's possibly the first time that those of us on the alternative side of the argument about history were given an opportunity to really put our evidence forward and to confront so-called skeptics. Well, it's so-called, that's what he calls himself, Michael Sherman, with this evidence. And obviously I'm biased, but I don't feel that he fielded the situation particularly well. I don't think mainstream archaeology came out of that looking really good. It came out of that looking rather and uninformed. And a man like Michael Shermer, who is a professional skeptic, cannot begin to match knowledge of a man like Ralph Carlson, who has devoted his whole life to walking the walk of the geology of the end of the ice age.
The lag is so fucking much.
So I think
Even though I kill most of the guards, there's still a lot of lag there.
I think it showed that the alternative side isn't just wishy-washy
Thanks to
stuff
fucking
out
whatever.
there on the fringes of things, that there are those of us working in this field who are using really solid information and who our project is to be the right estimate. And we're not going to do that with slight information. It has to be solid information. I think we have the opportunity on your show to say that solid information is there. I'm not claiming it was a complete victory for the alternative side. Michael Sherman is a smart guy, and he put forward some good arguments too. And there were constructive aspects of that debate, which I appreciate. I'd like to see much more engagement, a much more positive approach. I wish the skeptics, welcome to their skepticism, but I wish they'd be less hateful, less full of derision, less despising.
Well, they're so defensive.
And so defensive with their ideas when the possibility is there for a constructive debate.
Well, what's interesting to me is that as this evidence piles up, it seems to continue as more these impact sites and more of this ancient civilization material gets unearthed. It's almost
It's also, and this is how paradigms shift. I mean, everybody's familiar with the concept of a paradigm shift, and there's a book called The Struggle of Scientific Revolutions by Taurid, which outlines what a paradigm shift is, where an established model in some discipline of science that has been in control of people's thinking for a very long time suddenly falls apart. And it doesn't fall apart suddenly. What happens is that there's an accumulation of evidence which that model cannot explain. That paradigm cannot explain. It seemed like a great paradigm at one point, but then it doesn't explain this. And then it doesn't explain like the paradigm that says that megalithic architecture is only 6,000 years old and that the first megalithic architecture was in Malta. That can't explain the massive megalithic site of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey 5,500 before that. It's evidence like that, the slow accumulation of evidence that the existing system cannot explain, that at an eventual point, no matter how strongly the advocates of the existing system hold on to it, no matter how determined they are in their defense, no matter what dirty tricks they may choose to deploy to undermine their opponents, sooner or later the evidence overwhelms them, and the paradigm goes down, and you have a new way of thinking. And that is the story of science, and it is a story that I think we're at the tipping point in our understanding of the past. I'm not saying that I am
Maybe practice the
100%
end
right.
anytime
I
you
believe
can,
that
breaks
what
up the
I'm doing
monotony
is
too,
worthwhile
yeah.
because I'm asking questions about the past that haven't been asked enough. I'm putting archaeologists
That's good.
on the
That's
spot
good.
and
That's a
demanding
good point.
that they explain themselves. I don't claim that I'm right. I'm offering an alternative theory, and my objective is to get people to think for themselves.
I can see what probability
Not to accept,
or what frequency of occurrence glass breakage happens, right?
Medium. That's what I'm.
Have you had any archaeologists review any of this work and change their opinions?
I could give me confidence to do the glass run through.
But what I have
I might play for like maybe 10 more
I
minutes,
found
man.
it
Honestly, I'm
interesting
not
during
really.
the research trips for America before is a younger generation of archaeologists who are in the field. And they are
Maybe
quite
one more
different
glass
from the
entry
older
or
generation of
glass
archaeologists who
try.
were running the whole scene 25 years
Because even if
ago.
I do get the
Now we
glass,
have a
and
very
even if it is
different younger
fast,
generation,
I
a
have
younger
to
generation
friggin'
that has been exposed
survive and
to
clutch the
open-minded
ending.
thinking.
I really should have
that has
clutched
been
that.
exposed to
Would it have been that good of a
itself
PB
as
though?
the
How much
part of the
time is it after you
of the
load it?
younger
30
generation
seconds?
is suspicious of authority. I'm meeting young archaeologists on sites. For example, I met a couple of really amazing young minds on a site called Blackwater Draw
Okay.
in Arizona, New Mexico, where one of the first.
Because I died at 3 minutes. I think it's 20 or 30 seconds, right?
And
To upload
really
the
willing to consider
thing.
extraordinary possibilities out of the past, and privately admitted to me that they'd read my book.
Glass breaks too
Well, that's
early
where I
usually,
get
and
the
you
hope.
get shot by
I
the
get
guard
hope
behind.
in
Yeah,
the
but my
generation
path
that
was
is
wide,
going
right?
and that does understand that there's a lot more.
I took an intentionally wide path.
in schools.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
This is where the hope lies, and it lies in every area, and it's why one of the intriguing things that has happened with me, and your show is an important part of this, is that when I go around.
My PB, I had full health and full body armor. That time I had one more shot I needed.
The demography of the
You know what I
audience
mean?
is extremely interesting. And this is true whether I'm giving the talk
And the vents, no one
Britain,
came
whether I'm
when
giving
my
it in
PB,
Canada,
not a single
whether I'm
guard.
giving it in America. Part of the audience are older people who read me in the 1990s, who got onto my work with fingerprints of the gods in 1995, and they've stuck with me, and they've carried on reading my work. But another part of the audience, a very big part of the audience, consists to a large extent of young people, most of whom are men, but there are women amongst them as well. And what those
Wow, I
mainly
got
young
so
men
lucky there.
come up to me and say at the end of the event is,
Ah!
we first encountered your work on Joe Rogan's show, and
I think I shot his gun.
completely opened our minds. It changed. I've had so many young men say, this has changed my life. And then I asked myself, well, why should a different take on the past change people's lives? Why should people feel that their lives have been changed by the past, which I actually would not know about unless you'd had the good grace to bring me on your show. These ideas would not be known, but they are known because of the amazing outreach of your show. And the answer to that question, why does it change a person's life, is that once we realize that we have been misinformed about our past, that everything that we built our idea of who we are upon, of where we're going as a culture, may be founded on falsehoods and perhaps even deliberate.
Wow.
Once that is realized,
But that fucking survived
then
everything.
all the questions about the nature of the society we live in become open. And people, young people, are feeling the need to take an independent path, not to follow the path that has been set out for them by previous generations. And in some way, I'm very gratified to hear this. The fact that I'm an elder now. I'm 69 next birthday. The fact that
You look great.
Thank you. The fact that I, as an elder, have consistently pursued an independent path, have been willing to
Wow,
put
thank
up
you.
with shit
Thank you very much.
thrown at me over the years, but have stuck to my guns and have continued to add new information to the dossier of information that I put forward. That is, and I'm encouraged to see this, that's found as inspiring by younger people. And what better gift could an old guy hope to leave to the world than a younger generation who feel inspired by that person's work to change the world?
Well, I'm very, very thankful that I could introduce people to you, because your first book that I read, The Fingerprints of the Gods, changed my view. And I remember putting that book down after I was finished and going, wow, he's right. Like, this whole thing is a mess.
Yeah, a complete mess. Because our idea of who we are is very much founded in our idea of who we were. And I think one of the mistakes that's made in our civilization is that we are very conceited. We're very big-headed.
My God.
And we tend to review the
might do
whole
like
story of history
2 more
as though it's a
minutes,
project
man.
that leads to us.
And then I
We
pull
are
up
what
the
it's all
Gatno video.
about. And I think what is how can I put it, undermining of the existing system about
Really?
a new take on the past is the notion that we're not what it's all about at all. That there may have been an earlier civilization that reached a high level of advancement, perhaps different from an advanced civilization, which was just taken out of the story completely by a global cataclysm.
Last time
Then
I'll
we
say it,
suddenly
auto aim on all
realized
guards
that
will
the
cut.
way we're here
Aim
actually
up on
it's
all
not
the
the
guards will
process
cut the
that's been
first room
all
time in
about.
half. No, for sure, you're 100%
But
right,
if
man.
we've been misinformed about how we got
sure,
here,
man.
then we need
Totally.
to get the true information.
I agree
about
100%
what's
with
going
you.
on. So these are, in a way, profoundly revolutionary ideas. They do lead people on a path of inquiry that leads to questioning of everything.
And our fears that you were just discussing earlier about how soft we are in comparison to past civilizations in terms of our ability to live off the land, that's one aspect that bothers me. But one of the big ones that bothers me is the fact that everything's digital. All of our information is stored on hard drives. And if that goes down, there's not much left. You have paper books, and a few thousands of years, imagine what would be left. We would lose all of our advancement.
Well, I can speak to this at a personal level. There was a time when I was an excellent map reader. I could navigate with maps. My wife Santa and I did huge journeys in Mexico back in the early 1990s in really cheap hire cars with maps, and we found our way everywhere without any problem. Today, I can hardly use a map. The skill of using a map has lapsed within me. Why? Because of GPS. GPS technology has come along, and it always tells me where I am. And being a bit lazy, I just accept that technology. But then I had cause to ask myself this just the other day. Supposing all the satellites go down and there's no GPSs, the whole industrialized human race is going to suddenly be lost. All those Uber drivers who don't know their way from A to B and who rely entirely on their GPSs, they won't know where they're going. And it's true with digital data. Digital data, unlike print data, is very fragile and requires programs in order to access and interpret it that are much more complicated than simply cracking the code of a lost language.
Programs vary between different phone platforms, they vary in computer platforms. It's so fragile, and it's so, I don't know if there's any precautions that have been taken place to preserve this information in case of, like what Robert Schock described, coronal mass ejection or something crazy.
No, I don't think preparation has been made, and it's very clear that preparation is not being made for the risk of another cosmic event. And again, a point that I like to make on this is that we are in a sense in a place where history can repeat itself. That there are certain cycles at work. The work on the comet impact 12,800 years ago has very clearly and specifically identified the debris trail of the comet, and that debris trail is the Taurid meteor stream. And it's called the Taurid meteor stream because it appears to emanate from the region of the sky in which the constellation of Taurus sits. It doesn't. It's within our solar system. It's an optical illusion. The Taurid meteor stream is a giant complex of debris. It is 30 million kilometers wide. What you had was an original comet that might have been 100 to 200 kilometers in diameter, a small moon, which fragmented and broke up into multiple parts. And those parts began to spread out along the whole orbit of the Taurid meteor stream. Widen, so it's like a giant tube of debris. And the evidence of the argument is that 12,800 years ago, several large bits of that debris fell out of the Taurid meteor stream and impacted with the Earth. The problem is that the Taurid meteor stream still exists, and our planet still passes through it twice a year. And those passages take place in June and in November, and each passage takes 12 and a half days. And the same group of scientists who are looking at the evidence for the impacts 12,800 years ago are deeply concerned that we may face future impacts from the Taurid meteor stream, that there are still large objects up there. This is not theory, this is a fact. There's a comet up there called Comet Encke, which is part of the Taurid meteor stream. It's a large fragment of the original giant comet. Comet Encke has a diameter of about 5 or 6 kilometers. There's 19 recognized huge objects within the Taurid meteor stream. Calculations indicate that there may be as much as 200 asteroids within the Taurid meteor stream.
I have like no health. I have no health. And he's here.
They hit the Earth. And responsible astronomers regard the Taurid meteor stream as the greatest evolution has been facing mankind at the present time. And it's not something that we need to fall into despair about, because it's perfectly level to do something about it. What do they do? Well, to give you an example, commercial interests are looking right now, and the technology is there, to mine asteroids. We can go to asteroids if the commercial interest is high enough. We can go to them, we can mine them, we can extract minerals, we can bring them back to the Earth. The same technology would allow you to move asteroids or comet fragments. You don't want to blow them up with it. That would be really bad. That would turn one large object into multiple smaller objects, which could cause equally massive devastation and would be very difficult to predict where that devastation is going to fall. What you want to do is to nudge them and move them out of the dangerous orbit into a less dangerous orbit. And the evidence is in the next 30 years we are going to be passing through dangerous filaments of the Taurid meteor stream. And if we were smart, we would be devoting some resources to protecting the cosmic environment, just as there are many issues that we need to devote resources to. Unfortunately, the one that's most attractive to our politicians at the moment is warfare. We devote
I'm gonna do one more try on the glass, buddy, homie.
Technologies of mass destruction.
And then I'm gonna
no end
shut it down.
we're prepared to spend on that in terms of our so-called security.
Oh, how about that headshot?
More secure.
Yo, let's do this run for Farm Boy because of that headshot.
But the cosmos doesn't give a
Whatever.
fuck about any of that. The cosmos
Fine.
is out there with these giant objects, which have a far greater explosive power than all the nuclear weapons stored on Earth at the present time. The comet Shoemaker Levy 9, which hit Jupiter in 1994, had a total calculated explosive power of 300 gigatons. If you took the entire nuclear arsenal of the world today and blew it all at once, it would yield
Too much, too loud.
So these objects are producing catastrophic results on a scale far beyond anything that we ourselves could do with nuclear weapons. It's time we spent a bit less time and money on weapons of mass destruction and a bit more on looking after this beautiful garden that we call the Earth, and that is our home, and that will be the home of our children and our children's children. I'm a grandfather.
I think I'm too far.
We need to look after this planet. It's our responsibility as a human species.
Nice, let's go, let's go. Here we go. Man, I don't know, dude.
One of the challenges is to pay attention to our cosmic environment and to realize that the cosmos can intervene cataclysmically in the human story, and that the Taurid meteor stream in particular may have been a hidden hand in human history. There may have been other impacts in the last 13,000 years that have affected the course of humanity on this Earth. And the ancients were very good at paying attention to the sky. We ourselves have amazing tech to study the sky, but for some reason we're ignoring this problem of cosmic impacts. And that's incredibly irresponsible because, as I said a moment ago, it is a solvable problem. It is within the limits of our capability. It would require a global cooperative effort to to sweep our cosmic environment clean, but it could be done. The side product of that global corporation might be a friendlier, more nurturing, more loving, more positive.
It was very odd.
Fuck off. What? What's it hitting? What was it hitting, man? Yo, that's such bullshit.
In photographic history, modern history, where you could take pictures of things.
And if I can pause you on that very point, the
What was my AR-33 hitting? Was it not? Was it hitting the? Was it? Why wasn't it going through the friggin' drone? Did you see that? I lost like half my health because I was shooting friggin' into.
Extremely likely.
I'm gonna have to friggin' clip that. I'm not clip it, but I'm gonna have to friggin' see it after. I'm friggin' not happy. Tough luck. I am not happy with that. I want to talk to the manager. I want to talk to the manager about this game because I thought AR-30 bullets go through consoles. Do they not? Do they not?
It's an airburst. It explodes.
Sorry, man. I'm
in the
friggin'.
sky.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for listening, man. Thanks for also the like support, Farm Boy. Emotional and and like guidance with literal guidance how to play this level.
Teams went in and studied the area and discovered that 80 million trees.
Such bullshit. Yo, this is a complaint to the Goldeneye department. The rare.
2,000 square kilometers is the size of London. So anybody
Oh, that's
who
my
knows
fault. I
London is
should
aware
have
that
killed all
there's
those
a ring road
guards.
around London called the M25. If that airburst had taken place
That
over
was
central
brutal.
London, everything of London out as far as the M25 would have been
Just
gone.
fuck it one more time. Yeah, man. Well, okay. Be honest. I'm confused because I was shooting the friggin' drone and I thought it goes through there.
And if you got,
Did I just mistime it? Did I just shoot late and I got stuck in like a hit cycle?
Which revealed the extent of
Best
this,
level in the game. Yo, my heart's
of this
beating,
damage. So
dude.
it's
My
just
heart's
stupid of
friggin'.
us not to pay a bit more
Such a good
attention
level,
to this,
man.
especially when we have the
I
tech
agree,
to
man.
actually do something about it.
We have that
There's a
No, man, I don't know if I can do that
denial.
again.
There's a denial.
I mean, I can.
of
I think
the
I know
role
I
of
can, but
capitalism
like
in
right
human
now, I
history.
mean.
And there is even a word for that in science, and it's called uniformitarianism. And this is a particular philosophy. Its point of view is that everything as we see it in the world today is how things have always been.
You called it,
So if we
man.
don't
I
see
didn't practice the
capitalism
ending.
today, and they're not playing a major part in our story today, then they weren't capitalism, so they didn't play a major portion in our story in the past. That's why, although it's before the time of human beings, when the evidence that the
That was
dinosaurs
so clutch.
were extinct by
That was really clutch.
or an asteroid first came out, Lewis and Walter Arthur, as the founders of that science, were ridiculed by their colleagues. That's absurd. Of course, no cosmic event could have made the dinosaurs extinct. They spent 10 years taking that ridicule
We're good.
until they found the crater in the Gulf of Mexico. Since then, the whole scientific community has accepted that the course of life on this planet was radically changed by a cosmic impact.
I think it's good.
You know,
That should
I
be
like
good.
to joke about it, but it was a cosmic impact that was big enough, literally, to turn dinosaurs into chickens. Because that's what's left of the dinosaur line, is, the bird.
I think that's good.
And at the same time, skulking in those primeval forests is this little mammal, and it looks a bit like a shrew. 65 million years ago, going nowhere. The dinosaurs rule the earth. Then the cosmos intervenes. The dinosaurs are swept out of the way, and what happens? The mammals start to evolve very rapidly, and they start to occupy niches that were previously closed to them. The bottom line is, we would not be here, the human species would not be here, we would not be having
Really? That
conversation.
was such a good attempt,
Dinosaurs
though.
would not be made extinct
Man, that was such a good
65
attempt.
years ago. So these are
The more you practice,
world-changing events, and my argument
easier the
is that
start
such
gets.
a
Yeah, man, for sure, dude.
12,800 and 11,600 years
Yeah, I
ago.
love
It's
this
high
level.
time
It's
we
so
pay
good.
more attention to it.
Yeah, I get running. Yo,
Is there
thanks,
any
man.
evidence that there was other species of human beings that
Appreciate that, dude.
in the Americas, like we're finding in Russia, and there's many of them that are being discovered. all
I am
over
going to
the world.
inspect what happened there.
Subspecies of
Yes.
human beings.
Yeah.
I definitely
This
am.
is an issue that I go into.
with that
What first drew me
AR-33
into
shooting
it
through you.
was, Dennis
I
Hopper
admit
came
I
back
was
in
I didn't
Siberia.
like I let go of
I
Z
think
because
everybody's
I didn't
heard
see
of
the guy,
Neanderthals, and these
and
days
I
think
think
everybody's
maybe
heard of
he hit me
Denisovans
and I
as
got
well.
stuck in like a hit loop,
Well, I
if
guess
that
a lot
even
of people
exists in
have.
Goldeneye, you know what I
First
mean?
of all, let's take the
You know when you get hit in
for
this
a long
level
time
in
it was
jungle,
held
you
that
get
the
hit like 3
Neanderthals
times in a
were
row or
stupid,
whatever, you know?
primitive subhumans, shambling, lacking symbolism. Turns out that that's not true at all. The latest scientific
I could just be
evidence
BS.
on
I could just
Neanderthals
probably
is
miss
that they
them,
were symbolic
right?
creatures, that they did do
I was probably
that
shooting
they
the
were
drone, but I
in
probably
every
just
sense
missed the guy.
human, and they were in
If
every
you're quick,
sense human
pauses are
because
slow, you can do
anatomically modern
less
humans
on them, I
interbred
think might make
with
last more
Neanderthals. You
consistent
can't
too.
interbreed
Oh
with
really?
another species.
Yeah, I'm being
They
really
clearly were, human beings, but
I'm
they
overdoing the
looked really different
pauses
from us,
just
and
to
that's
make
why
sure, right? I
certain
don't want to undo them.
populations in the world today still have 3 to 5% of Neanderthal DNA. Then in Russia, in Denisovan Cave, they find a single from a little thing.
This fucking guy,
And,
man.
They do DNA testing on it. They're able to get a complete genome from it. And what they discover is this isn't a Neanderthal. This isn't an anatomically modern human being. This is another
Yo,
human
Farboy,
species,
thanks for all the tips, man, and
who
being
they
in chat. I really
named
appreciate
the
it.
Denisovans. They think they're more closely related to Neanderthals than they are to anatomically modern humans.
I don't know.
But
I'm
they're
gonna try one
another
more.
human
Like,
species.
this is gonna be my last
They
run, and then I'll pull up the
also
video after because
interbred
I'm.
with anatomically modern humans. And Denisovan DNA survives. Interestingly enough, it survives predominantly in Australia.
No problem.
And amongst,
Alright, I just don't want. I want to do one more try, just to the
so
glass.
as part of the research for this book, I went
Maybe,
to
maybe. I might just turn it off anymore.
I had an amazing, actually just incredible trip to Russia. I hadn't expected it to be like that at all. Siberia, America is vast, but my God, crossing Siberia, this endless rolling plains, this just a vast area.
How did you cross it?
We took a car. You can't travel independently in Russia. It's very difficult. You have to get permission. And you have to state in advance where you're going to stop. So what I found, and I just did so through the internet, was a local guy called Sergei Kurgin, who had a tour business in southern Siberia, in the city of Novosibirsk. I got in touch with him. He found a translator who would translate my emails, and I said, we want to make this journey to Denisova Cave. Can you set this up for us and get all the permissions? And he did, and so we flew into Novosibirsk. Sergei and his translator, who turned out to be a Russian student who spoke good English, joined us, and we did this immense journey across Siberia. And it took us 3 days to get to Denisova Cave. 3 days, 3 days of driving every day. Some stopping off along the way. Incredible hospitality of the Russians that we were among. Very independent people who are living out there in the wilderness and who actually do know how to survive. It's the first time I've ever drunk milk fresh from a cow. Literally milked right out of the cow and poured down my throat. It was delicious. And the cream, thick cream. So there was a lot of things about Russia that surprised me. Denisova Cave is a fascinating, beautiful place to visit. It's another example of a missing chapter in the human story that is beginning to be pieced together. It's obvious now that we were not alone, that there were multiple other human species who were human enough to interbreed with us.
Oh my God! How did you get there so fast? How the freak did you get there so fast? That sucks.
Very recent.
Whatever. I'm done. Let's pull up the video, man.
Very recent discovery.
I'm gonna pull up the drone video if I can find it. Yeah, no.
Better than that, they left behind
Thanks, man.
certain physical objects which are extremely hard to explain. One of them is a green stone bracelet, and that bracelet is in the form of a torque, which was therefore slipped on sideways onto the hand. It's not a full ring. And a hole has been drilled through the bracelet, and from that hole it's been possible to reconstruct that a pendant was hung. Then the archaeologists, there it is, then the archaeologists started to take a look in detail at the drill marks on that hole, and what they discovered was a huge anomaly. That was drilled with a stable,
go swim anyway too? Oh,
fixed
good.
drill.
Not good, but I
And it was
mean,
drilled
that works
at
out.
extremely
Nice.
high speed. This is thought to be 40 or 50,000 years old. There is not supposed to have been any such technology in that period that was capable of drilling with a stable fixed drill. And yet there it is, and there it appears. So there are also incredible, very fine needles, bone needles that the Denisovans made, very long ones, which suggest that they were stitching very heavy stuff together. And the suggestion has been, were they making skin boats, for example, to
used to navigate that would explain how they managed to get themselves to Australia, which is where the largest amount of Denisovan DNA survives today. There's one of those needles. So there are indications of strangely out-of-place technology amongst the Denisovans, which is 30,000 years earlier in the human story than it should be. Those kind of needles, that kind of bracelet, you could expect to find them in what archaeologists call the Neolithic, but to find it in the Paleolithic is very possible and very often suggests that the Denisovans were certainly not shambling subhumans, that they were refined creatures.
Can you find out what year they discovered the Denisovans, Jeremy? Can you Google that real quick?
Nice runs though, PB on its way, yo. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that big time, dude.
Human beings have been around for this long.
I need to add 1 second. Let me see if I can add source.
They figured this out.
Yeah, we're discovering new stuff about ourselves. We're discovering that our story is much richer, much more textured, much more.
No, I gotta add it as a video. It's okay. I'll add it as a video.
Story. It's a very complicated story, and we ourselves are a hybrid species. We are the result of interactions with all kinds of different looking human beings, and the end result is ourselves. So it's not just that we carry Neanderthal or Denisovan DNA. In a sense, we are Neanderthals and Denisovans, they are part of the anatomically modern human heritage. So you make a good point. The fact that this is only being discovered now, and that it's an incredibly important, I mean, it completely rewrites the story of our ancestors. The notion 1970s.
Oh, okay.
The real work.
All right, here we go.
In Denisovan
We got it.
done in the 2000s, from 2006, 2007. That's when the major papers have been published.
I don't know if I'll be able to fast forward it, but
the genome of the Denisovans and revealed the Denisovan connection to anatomically modern humans. The fact that we're only finding this out now, that we told the story of our past and weren't aware
yeah, I
of
don't think
this,
it's gonna work,
raises
man.
the question: how much else in the story of our past is there that we're not aware of? Let's stop being so arrogant, so sure of ourselves, so confident in our findings.
I don't know if it's gonna work, my man. Let's see. You see? You see, we're at Fortune. We're at the top of Fortune here. You see? I don't know if you can see that. Dropping frames. Yeah, don't worry about it, man. No worries, dude. I don't know if I can fast forward this video, though. There were some really good views. Like, let's see. Okay, here we go. We're going up now. This video's about 5 minutes long, but I bring it up pretty quickly, I think. If I remember correctly. Looks so good. Yo, thanks, man. Yeah, it's 1080p. Usually it's not choppy at all, right? But yeah, it's pretty, man. I'm gonna center it. Yeah, it's really nice footage. DJI, man. DJI makes the best drones. This drone I have is one that was $500 at DJI Spark, but now they make the Mavic Mini. Mavic Mini's like $500 as well. Dude, there's some beautiful places in BC though, man. BC is insanely beautiful. Especially Vancouver and around there. All of BC. I imagine. Yeah, dude, I don't know if I can legally friggin' fly here like this, but... Man, I'm gonna use a washroom. I'll be right back. This is gonna play for like maybe a few more minutes. There's another video after I can play of the drone. Oh yeah. Thanks Farm Boy for all the freaking help, my man. You're the man, dude. Yo, I'm back. My sister worked and got married there. Awesome, man. Look at that view. That view's beautiful. Heck yeah, man. It's so gorgeous. It's really gorgeous, though, man. It's really one of the best areas in, like, all of Ottawa to go. An hour away from Ottawa, like, Gatineau Park. Dude. And Fortune is such a good ski hill, man. I love Fortune. I used to go on Monday, Tuesday nights. I think I told you this. I think I mentioned it last time. Friggin' when it was like way back in the day, not way back, but like 2003, when it was $22 for a night pass from 4:30 to 9. And Monday or Tuesday night, I think it was buy one get one free. So you'd go for like $11 unlimited lift pass on a Monday night, empty. Amazing, dude. There, that's the view. That's your home over there, right? That's your direction across that. So there's the road down there, and then there's the river valley there, on the left, top left. But you can't see where you're from because I think the Fortune. Yeah, exactly around there. See that mountain? See, it blocks it. See, I know. Also, I start looking down with the camera, but that mountain blocks it because I was looking north. I was looking northwest for a second. Oh, I think my computer friggin' finally crapped out on me. Alright, we're good. I was really losing signal a lot. I don't know if it was because of the radio tower frequency waves, whatever, but yeah, I think I'm bringing it down now. Alright. Yo, farm boy. Thanks so much, man. Looks awesome, man. Yo, thanks, dude. I really appreciate that, you know? I appreciate that big time. Yeah, man. Congrats to GG's on that Silo 113, homie. That's amazing. You want to see my... I think me and my girlfriend, we kiss here. I was gonna close the video, but should we show the video? We'll show it. Aw, it's so nice. It's a beautiful spot. Talking about romanticism. It's just been me and my girlfriend hanging out, kissing. Oh, she's a sweetheart. My babe, my darling. My sweetheart, darling. My love. Thanks for showing me. Makes me want a drone. Oh, for sure, man. Dude, you should totally... Oh, sorry, I don't know. She'll be happy I played this. That's why I'm playing it. I'm not playing it to show off. I'm playing it because she'll be happy that I'm playing this video, you know. Oh, that's it. It started again. Thanks for watching, man. Yeah, dude. Yo, DJI Spark. It's such a good friggin'... it's such a good drone, man. I can pull up a different video, a different drone video. Do I have I have another one of Gatineau Park, I think. But it's super short. No, that one's not. No. I have lots of random drone videos here, actually. I have some really nice ones in Bruce Peninsula, actually. Yeah, man. I would highly recommend DJI. DJI company. They make gimbals too. Like, look at this friggin' video. Let's do this video. Oops. We're dropping frames again though, eh? This is the raw drone video footage. This is Bruce Peninsula National Park. This is just north of Toronto, near Tobermory. I can write it. This is the grotto. I went early morning one morning. It's actually illegal. You can't fly drones in the national parks, but I went early in the morning anyways, and that was before they implemented that law, so they can go, you know. It's friggin', my computer's not enjoying this though. My poor computer, I need a new computer, man. There I am. Yeah, this is where I took my profile picture for Twitch. Oh my god, what happened? What happened to the video? What is going on? Jokes. Yeah, this is where I did my yo-yo video. This is exactly it. This is the raw footage of it. So, my stream, I'm streaming at 720 right now. The footage is 1080. So the raw YouTube videos, like on my YouTube channel, there's the high quality 1080p of this. This is, you're watching 720, right? And it's like 60 frames per second, I think. No, Sparker's 30. That's no color filters, right? That's all natural. But my computer's not letting me have it, dude, so I'm gonna have to close it. Alright, well, we'll play the video out. This is the raw. This video isn't even on YouTube, this one. Yo, thanks, man. Yo, I appreciate that, dude. Big time, man. But the video is friggin' crapping out. But yo, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, this is when I had only one battery. Now I have 3 batteries. If you buy a drone, buy extra batteries. Buy extra batteries made by DJI. I bought, because they don't last very long, like time-wise. Like this spark lasts, what, 15 minutes? That's why I was rushed here. Look at that footage, it's so nice. Why is my computer playing so well now? Now it's smooth. Look at that. And get the remote control with it. Footage is so nice, man. Oh, that's it. That's the video, I think. Yeah, that's the video. There's more. I have others, but... Really is a beautiful spot, though, man. Alright, I'm gonna add a video. I'm gonna add one more. If you're down with watching that, up to you. If you gotta go, no worries. I don't know, man. I'm gonna go, my man. I'm gonna go. Yeah, man. I'm gonna go, my man. Thanks so much for... Yeah, I can't find that video. Anyways, let's, Yeah. I'm just thinking where they are. I don't know if it's on here. Let me see. See you next stream. Get that Aztec PB. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that big time, man. Alright, let me play one video. Let me load one video. So beautiful, man. Lulu is going for a crazy FTOO on Taurid? Oh, no way. See how beautiful? Oh no. Video. Oh, here we go. See how beautiful it is? I'm standing way close to the edge. That's why I kind of regret posting this. Way close to the edge. It's when I've been. Sorry, man. Sorry about that, dude. Sorry about that, my man. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. That must have really hurt your ears. Anyways, I regret posting like this video because I was standing way too close to the edge here. You know what I mean? But it's like beautiful. It's insanely beautiful. I think my computer's friggin' finally biting the dust on me, my homie. I'm gonna have to go. I wanted to show those two views though. Those are what I wanted to show you. DJ Farm Boy. Friggin' Bruce Wayne Intel, man. It's limestone outcrop on Lake Huron and Lake Georgian Bay. Near Manitoulin Island. Yeah, my computer friggin' croaked on me, man. Not croaked, but... Farm Boy, you're the best. Thanks so much. Congrats on the Silo PV113. That's my goal. That's my nemesis. It's my dream. Thanks, buddy. All the best, man. Catch you later. Talk to you later, man. See you next stream. See you about to get that Aztec PV for sure, man. I might stream Aztec next time we go. See you, man. Thanks, buddy. All the best, man. You made my stream, homie. Thanks, dude. See ya.